Hello everyone! Welcome to the second and final part of our rewrite for Ash's Unova Journey. In the last part, we basically went over the process of retelling Ash's entire Unova journey from Black and White Season 1 all the way to Episode N, which we did slightly alter in our version. Now it's time to finish everything off with the final arc for the series. In the official canon anime, the final arc of the Unova saga was the Decalore Islands arc. However, I mentioned in my previous video that I had no desire to incorporate the Decalore Islands arc because, in my opinion, it was pure filler and offered nothing of value. My choice was to replace it with a Pokémon World Tournament arc, since the official PWT didn't appear in the actual anime. I took out the anime equivalent World Tournament Junior Cup for this reason, so our final portion of this series will be a World Tournament arc. As I mentioned last time, one of the big reasons I'm making this change is because I didn't like how Charizard returned in Black and White, because he'd already gotten so much attention in previous years, and I felt like he just didn't need to be brought back again. If they just had to bring back some old Pokemon, I would have preferred it to be other, less promoted Pokemon, so they could get some time to shine. So that's what's going to be happening here. But before we begin things, there are a few things to address. This series will be taking place in my alternate Sakuraa universe, or whatever you want to call it, corresponding to my How I Rewrite Certain Anime Saga video series. In those videos, I rewrote the Sinnoh saga up until Journeys, which I of course changed into a Galar series. I didn't change Kanto through Hoenn because, TBH, I really didn't have too many ideas for changing any of those, and I won't lie, I still don't. So Ash's teams from those sagas are pretty much unaffected. There are only a few minor things with that, which I'll go over in a few seconds. I did, however, slightly change his Sinnoh roster, so those changes will affect his choices here in Unova for this tournament. Thankfully, those changes are super minor. In terms of roster, the only major things to note are that Ash doesn't own Gible, and that Weasel evolved into Floatzel. That's it. I also changed quite a few of Ash's Sinnoh gym battles, so some of those changes will be referenced here. I recommend checking out my Sinnoh rewrite video just so you won't be confused, and I'll be sure to link that in the description. One last thing, I didn't mention this in my rewrite of Sinnoh since at that point I hadn't really thought of it, but long story short, I would have changed the Sinnoh League so that Ash only used his Sinnoh team, meaning this World Tournament would have been the first time of Ash bringing back his old Pokemon since the Battle Frontier. Honestly, I feel like bringing back older Pokemon for a World Tournament makes way more sense than randomly bringing them back in Sinnoh. But with that in mind, this means that Ash's Cyndaquil would still only be a Cyndaquil here. As you might expect, I overhauled many Pokemon's movesets here, especially a lot of the earlier captures, but considering how many Pokemon got move updates in the canon Sinnoh series at that league, I thought this would be fine. And the only other minor change here is that, again, like I said, I wouldn't have changed too much with Ash's teams for Kanto through Hoenn. The only super minor changes I would have done would have been kind of changing a few of those Pokemon's genders. I probably would have made some more of them female. And that's probably because, well, I really, like I said in other videos, I like to see Ash with more female Pokemon because he really gets any. And I'm not gonna lie, as a kid, there were some Pokemon that Ash had that I always thought were girls, but they probably weren't. Like, looking back at it, they probably were just all male. But yeah, this is such minor things that I'm gonna just go ahead and change them because this is my rewrite and I can do what I want. So yeah, if you hear me refer to certain Pokemon as she later on that you don't think were ever really confirmed female, it's because in my universe, I'm just gonna say that they were female. So we'll get to that when we get to that, of course. But with that very long intro out of the way, let's get into the final part of this series. Ash, Hilda, and Hilbert are currently on a bus to Driftveil City. It's been about 3 months since the events of the inconclusive Fortress Conference. The entire experience was very stressful for everyone and left Ash feeling very empty. The staff recognized this, and while they couldn't do anything in terms of the league, in order to make up for the situation, Ash was offered the opportunity to participate in the annual Pokémon World Tournament. The group was informed that the PWT was a special tournament featuring powerful trainers from all across the Pokémon world. Normally, all participants needed to register early, but as thanks for saving the region from Team Plasma, Ash, Hilda, and Hilbert were offered an automatic entry. Ash, of course, was stoked to hear this. To be honest, he felt bad that his team had nothing to show for their league quest, what with Team Plasma destroying everything. So this was something that would surely make up for that. Meanwhile, the twins also decided to take the offer, deciding it sounded like fun. They also wanted the chance to battle trainers from outside Unova. Hilda naturally asked if Sharon, Bianca, and Hugh were also invited, since they helped in the defeat of Team Plasma as well. They were told that, yes, those three were also offered the opportunity to participate, but as of yet, the staff were unsure of if they'll be entering. Ash deep down hoped that they'll take the chance, as he'd love to battle them again. The kids eventually arrived to the arena, where they confirmed their identities at the registration desk. As promised, all three are already entered. They simply have to list which Pokemon will be participating. Naturally, they all register the Pokemon they have on hand. The woman behind the counter asks if they have any other Pokemon they own that they'd like to enter. Shocked, Hilbert asks what she means. The woman explains that trainers are free to enter with any Pokemon they own. They're just, of course, limited to the maximum set amount per battle, but they can register all that they have. This, of course, shocks Ash, as he was only planning on using his Unova Pokemon. But hearing that he can use any Pokemon that he owns, he decides to do so. After all, it's been ages since he battled with a lot of his older Pokemon. He pulls up all of his information from Professor Oak's lab, and just like that, he was able to enter with all of those Pokemon. At his request, any of his older Pokemon from Oak's lab will be sent over for battle. Ash is thrilled, and Hilda and Hilbert are intrigued. Ash hadn't mentioned much about his previous adventures, so they were unaware of how many Pokemon he actually had. Now, they're excited to see them in battle. The tournament doesn't start for a few days, so Ash, Hilbert, and Hilda take the time to do some training. Ash begins rotating his Pokemon teams around just to give his older Pokemon the time to refresh their battling before the tournament starts, and many learn new moves. One day, Bianca, Sharon, and Hugh arrive. They reveal that they'll be participating in the tournament. Sharon has been working hard on becoming a gym leader, as he previously mentioned at the league, and he wants to take this chance to battle gym leaders from other regions to see how he stands up to them. Hugh, just like Ash, was disappointed that their match had no winner, so he wants another challenge, and being able to battle trainers from all across the world will be a great experience. Who knows, maybe they'll be able to battle each other again. Bianca, on the other hand, explains that she was initially actually reluctant to participate. After her league loss to Ash, she really wanted to put Pokemon battles behind her. It's clear that she just isn't as good at them compared to her friends. But Sharon and Hugh eventually convinced her to participate. Sharon brought up how she made it even farther in the league than he did, and that she's got plenty of impressive Pokemon. Also, if she really wants to help Professor Juniper in her research, battling against Pokemon from other regions would be a great benefit. So the girl finally decided to join in. Ash is pleased, as he feels Bianca can get far in the competition if she believes in herself. He looks forward to seeing how everything will go. The first day of the tournament is a huge fanfare. Trainers from all across the world pile in, and the opening ceremony is packed. Ash is surprised as he recognizes many of the trainers as gym leaders from regions he's previously battled in. He can't wait to see if he'll be facing any of them during the tournament. The gang is surprised when they see a familiar face speaking during the ceremony. Champion Alder announces himself as the host of the event. He explains that he's hosting this year's PWT due to the fact that the Virtuous Conference didn't have its proper conclusion, and he knows there are some league challengers participating in this tournament. He then shocks everyone by saying that not only is he the host, but he's also a competitor, so anyone has the chance to face him as well. This unnerves many of the competitors as they're aware of the champion's strength, but others become excited for this chance to take him on. The announcers state that the contestants will be randomized in the opponents they face and what type of battle it will be. It could be a double battle, a rotation battle, a triple battle, or something else entirely. And the amount of Pokemon used will depend on what type of battle this will be. This will surely be an interesting experience. Okay guys, we're going to change up the rules just a little bit from how they work in the game. Our rules will be that single battles will be normal 3-on-3 battles, double battles will only feature 2 Pokemon total, and triple and rotation battles will only feature 3 Pokemon max. And of course, any full battles will feature 6 Pokemon. The tournament opens with a preliminary round to determine which trainers will make it into the main event. Ash will battle against a trainer named Curtis. Hilbert will be battling Ingo of the Battle Subway, while Hilda will face his brother Emmett. All of these will be double battles, and they'll all be taking place at the same time. Let's look at Ash's battle first. Curtis enters the field bragging about his many travels across the world, and says that he plans to shine in this world tournament. Ash quietly thinks about his own regional travels, and feels like this will be a fun match. Curtis sends out his Rampardos and Spiritomb, impressing Ash. He decides to send in Pikachu first, wanting to open up the tournament with his partner. As for his next choice, it's going to be his ever-reliable Heracross. Curtis is a powerful battler, with his Spiritomb putting Heracross to sleep with hypnosis right off the bat. It tries to hit Dream Eater, but Heracross uses Sleep Talk and strikes the ghost with a hard Mega Horn. Rampardos meanwhile focuses on Pikachu and goes after him with an impressive speed, aiming Zen Headbutts and Head Smash attacks at the small mouse. Pikachu is fast enough to avoid most hits with Quick Attack, but Rampardos' speed is undoubtedly impressive. Eventually, Rampardos lands a Zen Headbutt, but this results in it being paralyzed by Pikachu's static. Slowed down, Pikachu can land a major Thunderbolt. Meanwhile, Heracross is surprisingly holding his own against Spiritomb. Eventually he wakes up and goes in for a Mega Horn. Spiritomb uses Shadow Sneak to dodge, but Heracross is unfazed and simply aims his attack at Rampardos instead. The giant dinosaur is knocked off his balance, and Pikachu hits it with an Iron Tail. Curtis tells Rampardos to use Head Smash on Heracross, and the bug is hit hard. But the resilient Beetle fights through the pain and lands a Focus Punch to finish off Rampardos. Curtis is not too bothered by the loss and simply commands an Ominous Wind to hit both opponents. Pikachu is blown backward, but Heracross catches him and flies straight forward. Spiritomb switches to Dark Pulse, and Heracross intercepts it with Hyper Beam. This allows Pikachu to jump away from Heracross to hit an Electro Ball. An explosion causes smoke to shroud the battlefield, and Ash commands an Iron Tail Mega Horn combo attack to finish off Spiritomb. Curtis is disappointed by his loss, but praises Ash for his battling abilities, saying he expected nothing less from someone who made it to the finals of the Unova League. Hilda's double battle against Emmett is tough. Her Sawsbuck and Excadrill take on his Electros and Klinglang. Hilda doesn't figure Electros will be much of an issue due to her chosen grass and ground types, but Emmett is prepared, and the Subway boss commands Flamethrower to deal decent hits to her Pokemon. Sawsbuck is able to hit a strong Horn Leech onto the eel to recover health. Then she lands a devastating jump kick onto Klinglang. Klinglang tries to hit Gear Grind, but Excadrill intercepts with Drill Run, knocking the Pokemon out. Together, Sawsbuck and Excadrill are able to wear down Electros, with Sawsbuck landing the final hit with Takedown. On Hilbert's end, he uses Axew and Gigalith against Ingo's Chandelure and Durant. Axew is strong, but since he doesn't have as much battle experience as Gigalith, he struggles a lot in the battle. Thankfully, Gigalith is able to easily hold his own against Chandelure and takes it out with Rock Blast. Unfortunately, he falls to an Iron Head from Durant. Axew has a hard time dealing much damage to Durant, but he winds up getting the win after landing a move Hilbert didn't even know he knew: Guillotine. The preliminary rounds end that evening, with Ash, Hilda, Hilbert, Sharon, Bianca, and Hugh making it through to the main event. Ash recognizes many of the gym leaders from other regions who also made it through. The Unova trainers express their excitement and nervousness over battling trainers with Pokemon they've never seen before. The first official round matchups are announced the following morning, and it's shown that Ash will be battling Erica of the Kanto region in a 3-on-3 single battle. Hilda will be taking on Hoen's gym leader duo Tate and Liza in a double battle, and Hilbert will be battling Janine of the Kanto region in a rotation battle. Look guys, I know Tate and Liza battle separately in Gen 5, but I just thought having them work as a team for a double battle just fit their theme, so that'll be happening here. Hope you guys don't mind too much. Ash and his friends are excited by their matchups, and everyone makes their way over to their respective battlefield, wishing each other luck as they part ways. We'll start with Hilda, who is surprised by the twin gym leaders. She's not heard of multiple gym leaders battling together. Even Unova's own Striaton trio usually battle trainer separately, with Ash's rotation battle being a rare instance of them all taking on an opponent together. Tate and Liza note that they competed in the Pokémon World Tournament numerous times, and they always make it to the top 16 or higher, so Hilda should know that they're no joke. This does actually give Hilda a bit of caution, but she decides to remain focused. Tate and Liza send out their Solrock and Lunatone. Hilda thus chooses to go with Superior and Excadrill. Hilda tries to start out with Attract from Superior, but it's useless since Solrock and Lunatone are genderless Pokemon. Something Hilda didn't realize. Lunatone aims an Ice Beam at Superior, but Excadrill intercepts it with a Metal Claw, which strikes Lunatone. Superior goes for a Leaf Blade on Solrock, but it pushes her back with Psychic. Solrock then uses Sandstorm to disorient Superior. Hilda is impressed with the teamwork by the two gym leaders. She encourages her Pokemon to work together and thinks up some strategies to deal major hits to their opponents. Lunatone goes in for a tackle against Excadrill, but he dodges with Dig at the last second. But this brings Lunatone close enough so that Superior can use Vine Whip to grab onto it. With Lunatone unable to move, Superior uses a close-range Leaf Storm to take it down. But it turns out that Solrock was charging up a Solar Beam, which it launches at Excadrill for a lot of damage. Hilda has Superior go in for multiple Leaf Blades, but Solrock dodges every single one. At this point, the Sandstorm clears, giving Excadrill a clear shot to aim Metal Claw at Solrock from behind, defeating it. Hilda thus wins and is able to move forward in the competition. Tate and Liza are disappointed by their loss, but they take the defeat with grace and congratulate each other for doing so well, saying that they'll just do better next time. Hilbert's rotation battle against Janine is next. The Poison-type gym leader sends out her Crobat, Nidoqueen, and Weezing, and Hilbert decides to use his Samurott, Crustle, and Gigalith. The rotation battle is a bit of a struggle for him, as he hasn't taken part in too many battles in this style. Samurott is battling Crobat at first, and he uses Toxic to wear Samurott down, but his Razor Shell is dealing a lot of damage to the bat, and it seems to be about to faint. But Janine rotates to Weezing and strikes Samurott with a hard Thunderbolt, nearly taking him down. Hilbert decides to rotate to Crustle, and uses Shell Smash to power up his attacks, then hit Weezing hard with Rock Wrecker. This causes him to become immobile as he needs to recharge, so the weakened Weezing can deal heavy damage with Flamethrower. Hilbert decides to rotate to Gigalith to finish off Weezing with Rock Blast, but not before it hits a Will-O-Wisp to weaken the rock monster. Nidoqueen comes out next, and her ground-type moves deal heavy damage to Gigalith, who can barely do anything thanks to his burn weakening his attacks. He deals as much damage as he can, but ultimately falls to an Earth Power. Samurott rotates in next, and he's struggling due to his poison. Nidoqueen also knows Thunderbolt, and Samurott can only barely block this attack with his swords. Hilbert has Samurott use Aqua Jet to get in close, then strike with Razor Shell. But Nidoqueen counters with a close-range Thunderbolt. The two Pokemon take each other out from that collision. It's now Crustle and Crobat remaining. Crobat is able to hit the weakened Bug hard with Brave Bird and wear it down with Toxic, but Crustle can block many of its hits with Protect as well. Ultimately, a powerful Rock Slide eventually defeats Crobat, giving Hilbert the win. Janine compliments Hilbert on making it through that battle, and the boy says that there were actually several moments where he felt like he'd lose, but he praises Janine on her battle tactics. Ash is the final trainer up to battle against Erica in a 3-on-3. He greets her happily on the battlefield, stating that it must have been fate that they were matched up to battle each other. After all, their battle from back during his Kanto days never had a proper conclusion. Now they can finally change that. Erica is likewise glad to have this rematch. She sends out Tangrowth as her first Pokemon. Ash asks if this is her old Tangela from all that time back, and she confirms it. Ash is happy to hear it, and sends out Noctowl to take it on. Noctowl starts with Air Slash, which lands a direct hit, but the bulky Pokemon seems to resist the hit well. Tangrowth strikes back with Ancient Power, which hits Noctowl hard. Tangrowth launches a Focus Blast, but Noctowl is able to use Extra Sensory to deflect the attack. Erica has her Pokemon recover with Synthesis, and Ash uses this chance to fire off a few Air Slashes. Erica has Tangrowth charge a Solar Beam, while Ash has Noctowl charge up Sky Attack. Tangrowth fires her attack at Noctowl, and he dives in for his. He flies straight through the Solar Beam and lands his attack, defeating the large Pokemon. Ash celebrates over getting the first win, but Erica tells him that this battle is far from over. She sends out a new Pokemon, a Cradily. Ash is impressed upon seeing the fossil Pokemon, but is ready for the challenge. He orders an Extra Sensory from Noctowl, but Cradily barely seems fazed by the attack, and uses Curse to raise its attack and defense. Ash decides to go big and commands another Sky Attack, but as soon as the bird gets close enough, Cradily hits a close-range Stone Edge and knocks Noctowl out. Ash praises Noctowl for the great work and sends in his next choice, Charizard. The giant dragon roars loudly upon entering the battle, shooting a flamethrower into the air. Erica recognizes Charizard as the little Charmander she once faced, and is happy to take him on once again. Cradily starts with a Seed Bomb, but Charizard intercepts with Slash. He then uses a powerful flamethrower which deals a heavy blow to Cradily. Ash has Charizard go in for Wing Attack, and he lands several strikes, pushing Cradily back. But Erica is unfazed and has her Pokemon use Recover. Ash tells Charizard to use Dragon Tail, but once he gets in close enough, Cradily hits a hard Stone Edge to knock Charizard back. Ash asks Charizard if he's okay, and he struggles to stand, but responds with a nod. Ash tells Charizard to use Flamethrower once more, and Erica commands Cradily to use Stone Edge again. Charizard dodges the Stone Edge and hits hard with Flamethrower, pushing Cradily back. He then goes in and lands a hard, close-range Dragon Tail. Cradily is heavily weakened, but thanks to its Suction Cup's ability, it maintains its footing after taking the hard hit, allowing it to land a point-blank Seed Bomb. Charizard isn't too fazed by this, and starts hacking at Cradily with Slash. Even though the move isn't very effective, Charizard's willpower pushes through, and he manages to land a few critical hits. Erica has Cradily use Recover, but Ash simply takes this chance to order another Wing Attack. Both Pokemon are breathing heavily and exhausted. Erica tells Cradily to grab Charizard with his tentacles to keep him from flying, and the fossil manages to do so. Charizard tries to break free, but Cradily is holding on tight. Erica thus orders Stone Edge, while Charizard is struggling, and Ash tells Charizard to use the strongest flamethrower he can. Both Pokemon execute their attacks, which strike their respective opponents in a massive explosion. Once the smoke clears, both Pokemon are out. Ash calls Charizard back and thanks him for his efforts. Erica then praises Charizard on his strength as she remembers battling him as a little Charmander and can see his growth. Her final Pokemon is another one that Ash has seen before, her now evolved Vileplume. Ash then sends in Pignite. Ash remembers the battle he had with Gloom so long ago and is ready to take on its evolved form. Erica commands Vileplume to use Sleep Powder, but Pignite dodges and uses Fire Pledge. The attack hits hard, but Vileplume uses Synthesis to heal herself. Pignite goes in for a Flame Charge, and Vileplume simply braces for impact. The attack deals a hard hit, but Vileplume ultimately withstands the attack. Erica then orders a Sleep Powder, which lands this time. Ash calls for Pignite to wake up, but he remains asleep. Erica then has Vileplume use Swords Dance, followed by numerous Drain Punches, which restore her health. Ash calls to Pignite again, and finally the pig wakes up, just as he takes another Drain Punch to the face. Pignite is weak, so Erica decides to finish things off with a final Drain Punch. But at the last second, Ash has Pignite toss Vileplume with Superpower. Vileplume goes flying and slams into the ground. Ash then orders a new move Pignite learned during training, Heat Crash. Pignite executes the brand new move perfectly, slamming his flame-coated body into Vileplume. Once he jumps back, it's clear that Vileplume is unable to battle. Ash is the winner. Erica praises Ash for his victory, stating that he's just as strong as ever, and she is excited to see how far he gets in the competition. Hilda and Hilbert are impressed by Ash's other Pokemon, and wonder if they'll have the opportunity to battle them later in the tournament. The next round matchups are announced, and it seems Ash will be battling Hoenn's Electric-type Gym Leader Watson, Hilda will battle Johto's Flying-type Gym Leader Falkner, and Hilbert will be battling Candace of the Sinnoh region. Ash's battle will be a triple battle, Hilbert's will be a normal 3-on-3, and Hilda's will be a rotation battle. Okay guys, I gave Hilbert and Hilda those first battles, but I think I'm going to really start summarizing the remaining ones, because I don't want this video to be super long, and I know y'all just want to focus on Ash and his battles anyway, so I don't think you guys will mind too much. But y'all know me, so their battles will still probably have a decent amount of detail regardless. This time we'll start things off with Hilbert. Candace tells Hilbert that she's excited to take him on, and starts off with her Weavile. Hilbert sends in Crustle. Weavile's speed makes things a bit hard for Crustle, but he manages to come out on top with a strong X-Scissor. But Candace's follow-up Abomasnow is powerful enough to take out the weakened Crustle with Blizzard, though she does take damage from a strong Rock Wrecker before the bug goes down. Hilbert sends in Gigalith next, but Candace switches to her Mamoswine. Gigalith deals a lot of damage with Rock Blast and Rock Smash, but Mamoswine defeats the Rock Monster with Earth Power. Samurott is Hilbert's last choice, and a speedy Aqua Jet Razor Shell combo finishes off Mamoswine. Abomasnow is last for Candace, and though she's weakened from her battle with Crustle, she tries to use her super effective Grass-type moves to get the win. But ultimately, Samurott powers through with a newly learned Fury Cutter to win. Ash's triple battle against Watson is next. The Hoenn Gym Leader tells Ash that he's thrilled to have a battle with him again, and is looking forward to seeing what new skills he's developed. Ash tells Watson that he's likewise excited to face him again. Watson sends out his main Nectric, Magnezone, and Galvantula. Ash is surprised to see the Unova Pokemon from the man, but he sends out Torterra, Donphan, and a Pokemon Watson recognizes all too well, Torkoal. Ash tells Watson that he wanted to give Torkoal a chance to rematch the man after not being able to defeat it in their past battle. Galvantula starts with a Bug Buzz, and Torkoal counters it with Heat Wave, hitting the Pokemon for big damage. Manectric goes in for an Ice Fang on Torterra, but the giant turtle withstands the hit and uses a close-range Leaf Storm to blow the wolf Pokemon away. Magnezone uses Flash Cannon, but Donphan dodges with Rollout and lands a hit on the Pokemon, though it resists it. Watson praises Ash on his Pokemon's endurance. Watson orders Manectric to use Flamethrower on Torterra, but Donphan jumps in front and uses Rollout straight through the fire and becomes coated in flames. Donphan rolls toward Manectric and it prepares to dodge, but at the last second, Donphan swerves to the side and strikes Magnezone. This not only shocks Watson, but impresses the audience. Watson commands Magnezone to use Magnet Rise to get even higher airborne to avoid attacks. The Gym Leader then has Galvantula aim Thunder at Torkoal, but Ash has Torkoal use Rock Climb to push Torkoal up to avoid the attack. With Torkoal high above the battlefield, he can safely aim Overheat at the airborne Magnezone, and this deals a major hit. Hilbert and Hilda continue to be impressed by Ash's other Pokemon. Watson has Manectric go in for an Ice Fang against Donphan, and this deals a harsh blow to the elephant. Ash calls for Hyper Beam, but Manectric intercepts it with Thunderbolt. While these Pokemon are preoccupied, Galvantula then closes in for an X-Scissor, hitting Donphan for even more damage. But at that moment, Torkoal leaps down from the rock climb mountain and crushes Galvantula with a body slam, surprising Watson. He quickly has Magnezone aim a tri-attack at Torterra, but once again, the bulky Pokemon resists the hit, and then strikes with a Frenzy Plant. He pummels all 3 opponents with his roots, then manages to grab the magnet monster and slam it into the ground, taking it down. With the other Pokemon dazed, Ash orders the final strike. An overheat from Torkoal finishes off Manectric, while a takedown from Donphan defeats Galvantula. The audience roars with cheers, and Ash praises his Pokemon on their win. Watson also congratulates Ash and compliments him on his Pokemon's growth and teamwork. He too looks forward to seeing how he does through the rest of the tournament and expects great results. Hilda's next battle is against Falkner of the Johto region. She's nervous since a lot of her Pokemon are weak to flying types, but has faith in them. Falkner, meanwhile, doesn't have too much experience with rotation battles. The gym leader sends on the lineup of Aerodactyl, Pidgeot, and Honchkrow, starting with the fossil up front. And Hilda decides to use Saucebook, Emolga, and Excadrill, with Saucebook as the lead. Aerodactyl naturally hits hard with many super effective attacks like Wing Attack and Ice Fang, but Saucebook is able to maintain her strength by using Leech Seed and Horn Leech. Hilda decides to rotate Emolga in to finish off the dinosaur with Discharge. Falkner brings in his Pidgeot next, and the aerial battle ensues. But Emolga has the advantage here, and deals a lot of damage to Pidgeot. Falkner eventually rotates into Honchkrow, and while the bird also takes a lot of damage, it is able to take down Emolga with a Super Luck critical hit from Night Slash. Hilda sends in Saucebook to land a Leech Seed, and that's all she does before a Sky Attack defeats her. Excadrill is last, and he is able to finish off Honchkrow with Metal Claw. Falkner rotates Pidgeot back in and attempts to throw off Hilda by ordering Heat Wave, but Excadrill dodges with Dig. He then resurfaces to defeat Pidgeot with Horn Drill. Falkner thanks Hilda for the battle and promises to practice triple battles more in the future. Sharon, Bianca, and Hugh also continue to fare well in their battles and move on to the next rounds. The next morning, the group decides to have a few training matches against each other in preparation for their later battles. Hilbert has Axew face Ash's Pikachu, and after a tricky battle, Axew evolves into Fracture. Hilbert naturally becomes thrilled by this and is excited to use Fracture in his upcoming battles. Later that afternoon, we get the newest matchups. Ash's first battle will be versus Jasmine from Johto. Then Hilda will be taking on none other than Unova's own Sharon. Lastly, Hilbert will be facing Water-type Gym Leader Juan of the Hoenn region. This will be a rotation battle for Ash, while Hilda and Hilbert's battles will be regular 3-on-3 battles. Ash is overjoyed to see Jasmine and lets her know that he's happy to be battling her again. She likewise says that she's enjoyed seeing him battle again and lets him know that she's been practicing rotation battles, so he shouldn't underestimate her. Jasmine sends out her Steelix first, a Pokemon Ash remembers. She looks even stronger than back then when Ash's Pokemon first battled her, so the boy is hyped for another battle. Next, Jasmine sends out a Skarmory, and finally, a Ferrothorn. With her lineup revealed, Ash decides to use Cyndaquil, Floatzel, and Squirtle. Jasmine is intrigued by these choices, as are Hilda, Hilbert, Sharon, and Bianca, and they look forward to the match. Ferrothorn is up first for Jasmine, and Cyndaquil for Ash. Obviously, Jasmine sees the danger in this matchup and has Ferrothorn switch with Steelix. But Ash is unbothered, because this is still an okay matchup. Besides, he's sure Cyndaquil will appreciate the rematch. Steelix starts with an Iron Tail, but Cyndaquil dodges and hits a Flame Wheel. Jasmine orders Dig, so while the snake is underground, Ash rotates to Squirtle. The Pokemon hides in his shell right as Steelix resurfaces to shield from the damage. A close-range Hydro Pump then deals a huge hit to Steelix. Steelix uses Stone Edge, but once again, a Squirtle can hide in his shell to avoid the damage. A Rapid Spin also sends the Flying Stones back at Steelix. Jasmine rotates to Skarmory, who dives in for a Brave Bird. Ash rotates to Floatzel, who blocks the damage using his Flotation Sac. He then lands a close-range Ice Punch. Skarmory fights back with Steel Wing and lands a few hits, but Floatzel counters with Aqua Jet. The Pokemon continue to land hits on each other. Skarmory closes in with a Drill Peck, but once it's up close, Floatzel hits a Water Pulse, which confuses Skarmory. Jasmine decides to rotate back to Ferrothorn. A Power-Up hits Floatzel for big damages, even with his Flotation Sac blocking some of the attack. Ash orders an Ice Punch, but Ferrothorn's Iron Barbs hurts him once he lands the attack. Jasmine calls for a Gyro Ball, but while the Pokemon is in motion, Ash makes a quick rotation into Cyndaquil. Ash commands a Speedy Flamethrower, which strikes Ferrothorn before the attack lands, and blasts him away for major damage. Ferrothorn is deemed unable to battle, and Ash praises Cyndaquil for her win. Yeah, Cyndaquil is one of Ash's Pokemon that I always thought was a girl when I was a child, so I'm just gonna call it she here. But Ash and the rest of the audience are shocked when Cyndaquil begins glowing and she evolves into Quilava. Ash is thrilled by this, but Jasmine doesn't let this throw her off. She sends Skarmory back into the front lines and orders Steel Wing. Ash commands Flamethrower, but Skarmory dodges and lands the hit, knocking Quilava back. Jasmine then decides to do another quick rotation into Steelix and orders a Stone Edge. Ash commands Quilava to use Flame Wheel to dodge, but she winds up struck by the Stone Edge regardless and is flung backward. The Pokemon refuses to give up, and using her last bit of strength, she properly lands another Flame Wheel, but a final Iron Tail defeats her. Ash recalls Quilava, thanking her for the great battle and her evolution. Ash rotates Squirtle back in, and he uses Hydro Pump. Steelix is struck for big damage. Jasmine tries to order Iron Tail, but Steelix struggles to land the attack due to Squirtle being in motion while using the move. Jasmine switches to Skarmory and orders a Brave Bird, so Ash counters with Skull Bash. The Pokemon collide, taking major damage. The Pokemon then rush back in with Hydro Pump and Steel Wing, this collision resulting in a double knockout. Both trainers recall their Pokemon back, and Steelix and Floatzel are the last Pokemon on the field. Stone Edge is launched, so Floatzel dodges with Aqua Jet and strikes Steelix in the chest. Jasmine commands Dig, and Steelix dives underground. Ash tries to have Floatzel use Aqua Jet to dodge, but Steelix lands the hit. While up close, she uses Thunder Fang for major damage. Ash tells Floatzel to push through and use Water Pulse. With all of his willpower, Floatzel fights through the pain to hit a massive Water Pulse directly at Steelix's face, finally knocking it out. Floatzel lands on the ground with his arms crossed, and Ash is deemed the winner. Jasmine thanks Ash for the amazing match, and he thanks her for helping Cyndaquil to evolve. Hilda takes on Sharon next. Sharon announces to her that he's been working hard on becoming the next Normal-type gym leader for the region. As such, he'll be using some brand new Pokemon he's been training for that goal. He starts out with a Stoutland, while Hilda uses Serperior. The Pokemon have a rather intense clash, ending with a Hyper Beam collision from them both, which results in a double knockout. Sharon's next Pokemon is Lopunny, while Hilda uses Emolga. The Pokemon duke it out for a while until Emolga uses Volt Switch to bring in Scrafty. Lopunny has Jump Kick to land a big hit, but a Focus Blast finishes off the rabbit. Sharon's final Pokemon is Licky, so Hilda brings Emolga back in. Emolga has a decent advantage by being able to attack while in the air, but Licky grabs the small squirrel with her tongue by using Power Whip, then reels her in to strike with an Ice Punch, taking her down. Scrafty is last. Sharon tries his same strategy of using Power Whip to bring Scrafty in close for a Hammer Arm, but Hilda counters by having Scrafty use the momentum to hit a strong high jump kick. This takes Licky out, giving Hilda the win. Hilda thanks Sharon for the great battle and tells him that he'll be an awesome gym leader. He likewise thanks her and tells her that the next time they battle, he'll hopefully be running his own gym. The last battle of this round will be Hilbert vs. Juan. Hilbert wants to show off his own water type, and begins with Samurott. He's sure it'll have an easy time taking down Juan's Whiscash. The Pokemon duke it out, and Samurott seems to have the advantage. But Hilbert doesn't expect Juan to break out a secret weapon, a super effective Spark from Whiscash. This takes down Samurott. Hilbert then sends in Fracture to finish off the fish with his new Dragon Claw attack. Juan sends out his Kingdra next, and the Dragon types clash in an intense battle. Eventually, the two take each other down after Dragon Pulse collides with Fracture's Dragon Rage. Last for Juan is Crawdaunt, but Hilbert has a perfect counter in Excelgor. Crawdaunt does boost its speed and attack with Dragon Dance, giving Excelgor trouble, but he's able to power through and finish off the crab with Bug Buzz. The tournament continues the next day, and Ash will be facing Sinnoh's Electric-type gym leader Volkner in a triple battle. Hilbert will face Bianca, who's representing one of the heroes of Unova, in a double battle, and Hilda will battle Blaine of Kanto, also in a triple battle. Hilbert vs. Bianca is actually pretty intense. Bianca has clearly been working on her battling skills since the league, despite moving on to becoming Juniper's assistant. Bianca uses her Minccino and Escavalier against Hilbert's Fracture and Excelgor. Excelgor and Escavalier are thrilled to be battling their original trainers to show off their growth. Minccino also shows off his strength after having not battled much since the Virtuous Conference. Let's say he was used in the earlier rounds, since he wasn't used against Ash. Though the battle seems even, in the end, Excelgor and Minccino take each other down in a Hyper Voice Bug Buzz collision, and Fracture uses a surprise Incinerate to take down Escavalier. After struggling so much against Ingo's Durant in the preliminaries, he wanted to teach Fracture a Fire-type move to handle Steel types, and he's glad he did. With Bianca losing both of her Pokemon, Hilbert is of course deemed the winner. She's naturally a bit upset over her loss, but overall happy that she chose to participate, and she plans to use this experience as she works with Professor Juniper. Next, Ash takes on Volkner. He's happy to see the gym leader once more, and the man says that he hoped he'd be able to face off against Ash again. The trainers are so excited that they send out all their Pokemon at the same time. Volkner sends out his Luxray and Electivire, who Ash recognizes from his gym battle back in Sinnoh. The third Pokemon is one Ash hadn't seen before, a Fan Rotom. Ash, meanwhile, has opted to go with Palpitoad, Gliscor, and Bayleaf. By the way, guys, I didn't mention this in my other video. Actually, in my Sinnoh video, I spoke about Gliscor like canon as if he was male. At least I think he's male, confirmed. But regardless, in this version, it's going to be a female because, like I said, when I was a kid, I thought that Ash's Gliscor was a girl. So for my own rewrite, I may as well just make it a girl like I wanted it to be. Again, like I said, I know in my Sinnoh rewrite video, I never referred to it as female. I referred to it specifically as male. But I'm just going to kind of retcon things here and say that for all intents and purposes, in the Sakuraa universe, Gliscor is a female. Volkner is impressed by the roster Ash chose, but tells him that he shouldn't underestimate his Pokemon. The gym leader has Luxray use Electric Terrain to kick things off. He then orders Electivire to use Wild Charge on Bayleaf. Ash tries to have Bayleaf hold the attack back with Razor Leaf, but thanks to Electric Terrain powering him up, Electivire barrels straight through and lands a hard hit on Bayleaf. Ash commands Palpitoad to use Mud Shot, but Volkner's Rotom intercepts with Air Slash. Rotom and Gliscor go at it in the skies. Meanwhile, Luxray aims a Snarl at Palpitoad, but he counters with Supersonic. Electivire, meanwhile, aims a Fire Punch at Bayleaf. Gliscor sees this, and she dives down to take the hit, then strikes with a close-up Earth Power, striking Electivire for major damage. But Electivire recovers, and then hits the Scorpion with Ice Punch, also dealing major damage. Volkner notes how Electivire was able to defeat Gliscor in their original gym battle, and expects the same to happen here. But Ash says that his Pokemon will not go down easily. Palpitoad fires a Hydro Pump at Luxray, but the Pokemon uses a powered-up Thunder to blast through the water. It does so, though Palpitoad is of course safe from the attack. He isn't, however, safe from the Hex, which Rotom hits him with while his guard is down. Ash comes up with a strategy and has Bayleaf use Vine Whip to grab Palpitoad and throw him into the air. Now airborne, he can hit Rotom with a close-range Hydro Pump. This deals a big hit to the fan. Electivire rushes in for a Fire Punch against Gliscor, but she intercepts with X-Scissor. Electivire begins to get the upper hand and pushes through for the hit, but Bayleaf aims a Razor Leaf at Electivire's back to cause him to lose focus and take the X-Scissor head on. Once he's pushed back, an additional Body Slam from Bayleaf deals an even bigger hit, knocking the large Pokemon over. Volkner decides that he's done playing around and commands Electivire to use the strongest Wild Charge on Bayleaf. The Pokemon charges forward, but right before the attack lands, Palpitoad leaps in front to take the attack. He's slightly knocked back, though unharmed, and he aims a close-up Mud Shot at Electivire. Gliscor dives down for an additional Giga Impact, and this combination of attacks takes down the opponent. Volkner is impressed by the power of Ash's Pokemon, and Gliscor is happy to have had a hand in taking out Electivire. Volkner orders Rotom to use Thunder Wave on Bayleaf, and the attack does land, meaning a follow-up Hex does an even bigger hit. Luxray tries to use another Snarl, but Palpitoad once again counters that with Supersonic. This allows Gliscor to swoop in behind Luxray and hit a powerful Earth Power. This does a big hit, but Luxray remains standing. He then tries to use Ice Fang, but Bayleaf wraps the cat's mouth with a Vine Whip. She then tosses him into the stadium wall. While distracted, Rotom uses Air Slash for a big hit, but once again, Palpitoad jumps in front of the blast, and this finally knocks him out. Ash praises Palpitoad for his great battling, including his actions to keep Bayleaf safe. Bayleaf is saddened that Palpitoad fell by protecting her, so she is determined to win this battle. Volkner orders Rotom to use Hex on Bayleaf, and this deals a heavy hit to her. Luxray then tries to finish her off with Thunder. She counters with Razor Leaf, but the electric attack is pushing straight through. Rotom tries to use Air Slash on her, but Gliscor intercepts this with Acrobatics, landing several hits on the fan. Bayleaf is struggling, but Ash calls out to her and tells her that he knows she can do this. Upon hearing this, Bayleaf pushes forward with all of her might, and her Razor Leaf turns into Leaf Storm, pushing through the Thunder attack, and landing a devastating hit on Luxray. The Pokemon is launched into the air, then slams onto the ground. Gliscor then lands a final Giga Impact on Rotom as well, knocking the Pokemon down next to Luxray. Both are deemed unable to battle, making Ash the winner. Ash praises Bayleaf and Gliscor on their win, and Volkner likewise congratulates Ash on defeating him. He looks forward to seeing what else he'll bring to this competition. Hilda vs. Blaine finishes up the final round of the day. Blaine uses his Magmortar, Ninetales, and Heat Rotom. Hilda counters with her Scrafty, Emolga, and Excadrill. Blaine's wacky personality shines in his shuttle battle against Hilda, though he actually winds up getting distracted by his own riddles, causing Hilda's Pokemon to get the upper hand. Excadrill uses Dig and Drill Run to deal heavy hits to all of Blaine's Pokemon across the battlefield, but he winds up taking a few hits as well. Magmortar uses a major Fire Blast, which is countered by Scrafty's Focus Blast. The collision causes a huge explosion, but with smoke shrouding the battlefield, Excadrill can finish off Magmortar with Drill Run, and Emolga can use Acrobatics to defeat Ninetales. Blaine's Rotom tries to use Discharge to deal big damage to Emolga and Scrafty while fending off Excadrill with Overheat. Scrafty does eventually fall, but a combo attack from Excadrill and Emolga eventually finishes off the living oven. Blaine is pretty bummed over his loss, but tries to make up for it with a riddle, which Hilda actually solves. At this point, we've made it to the top 16. For the next few rounds, these battles will be solely 3-on-3 battles. Hilda will battle the dual gym leader and coordinator of Sinnoh, Fantina, while Hilbert will battle the mysterious Sabrina. Ash, meanwhile, is shocked to see that he'll be battling Alder. Alder approaches Ash, happy to see that they've been matched against each other. He reminds the boy that he's only competing for fun, so this of course won't be a champion battle, but he hopes it'll be a cool experience regardless. Ash is excited to be battling a champion either way, regardless of the setting. But Hilda's battle against Fantina will come first. The battle is a bit of a struggle for Hilda, since she's not too familiar with the contest battling of coordinators that Fantina excels in. Superior actually prowls pretty early on to Gengar, after failing to land most hits, then being put to sleep by Hypnosis and pelted with Sludge Bomb. Scrafty's Dark typing does give him a better advantage, and he manages to defeat the Ghost with a Crunch. Miss Matthews is brought out next, and the battle between it and Scrafty is very tough, and in the end, the two wind up knocking each other out. Last for Hilda is Saucebook, and Fantina sends out Jellicent. Even with the type disadvantage, Jellicent gives Saucebook a hard time with her contest talents and powerful Ice Beam attack. But Saucebook manages to finally get the win with Horn Leech, allowing Hilda to move onto the top 8. Hilbert figures his battle against Sabrina won't be too bad. After all, he has two Pokemon with a big advantage. He starts with one of them, Selgor. Sabrina's first Pokemon is Alakazam. The Pokemon are both very speedy and powerful, and even with Selgor's type advantage, he takes several strong psychic attacks from Alakazam. He does eventually manage to defeat Alakazam, but it takes a huge toll on him. Sigilyph is her next Pokemon, and it only takes a single Air Slash from the Pokemon to take Selgor down. Hilbert decides to send in Gigalith next, and he is able to wear down Sigilyph for the win, though not before the Pokemon sets up a Reflect. Last for Sabrina is Espeon, and the Pokemon finishes off Gigalith with a surprise Grass Knot after avoiding most of his attacks. Crustle is Hilbert's final Pokemon, and even though he has a type advantage, Espeon proves to be very fast and can avoid most of his attacks. And even when he does hit, the Reflect weakens the blows. It's risky, but Hilbert feels he has no choice. He has Crustle use Shell Smash to increase his speed and attack power. Espeon launches a Psybeam, but Crustle crawls out of his shell to quickly scurry across the battlefield to land an X-Scissor for the win. Now, Ash will be battling Alder. He informs Ash that he naturally won't be using his champion team in this battle, but this doesn't mean he will be going easy on him. Ash says that he'll give it his all either way. Alder starts with a Reuniclus, and Ash counters with Crocodile. Alder starts out by playing a bit defensively, setting up Light Screen and Reflect to weaken Crocodile's attacks. Crocodile doesn't let this stop him though, and he uses numerous crunch attacks, though Reuniclus barely seems phased. Ash orders Stone Edge, but Reuniclus grabs the rocks with Psychic and sends them right back at Crocodile. Ash decides to have Crocodile go in with Aerial Ace, but it seems Alder wanted this. As Crocodile lunges forward, Reuniclus hits a close-up Focus Blast to deal major damage to the Crocodile. Ash decides to recall Crocodile and sends Leavanny in. Ash has Leavanny use Energy Ball, but it is weakened by Light Screen. Reuniclus uses Psychic to grab Leavanny and slam her into the ground. By the way, if you haven't seen part 1, I changed Ash's Leavanny to a female here since I took Snivy off his team, so now he has a different female grass type. Ash realizes he needs to get in control here, so he has Leavanny use String Shot to restrain Reuniclus. Alder commands the Pokemon to break free, but she struggles to destroy the thick webbing. During this time, light screen and reflect fade out. Ash then takes this chance to have Leavanny use X-Scissor, and this takes Reuniclus down. Alder praises Ash on his Pokemon strength, and sends in Braviary. Ash recalls Leavanny and sends in Pikachu. Ash feels confident due to having the advantage, but just like with the first matchup, Alder proves that type advantage means nothing here. Braviary uses Rock Slide, which pummels Pikachu. Ash gets the idea to have Pikachu use Iron Tail to launch one of the rocks back at Braviary, and this deals a big hit. A follow-up Thunderbolt does more damage to the bird. Alder then has Braviary use Superpower, and once again this hurts Pikachu. But now that it's up close, a point-blank Electro Ball does a big hit to Braviary. He goes in for a Brave Bird, which Pikachu counters with Quick Attack. The attacks collide, but a follow-up Thunderbolt finishes off Braviary. Alder is beyond impressed by Ash, and Hilbert and Hilda are amazed that Ash hasn't even lost a Pokemon yet. But Bianca points out that all of Ash's Pokemon have taken a lot of damage though, while Alder's final Pokemon is still fresh. Said final choice enters the field immediately, and it's a Conkeldurr. Pikachu launches an Electro Ball, but Conkeldurr sends it back with his concrete blocks. Ash tries Thunderbolt, but Conkeldurr uses Fling, sending a stone block at Pikachu. He dodges the block, but this was just a distraction for Conkeldurr to hit a hard Hammer Arm. Pikachu does manage to use his remaining strength to hit a Thunderbolt, but a Payback finishes him off. Pikachu's final attack does leave Conkeldurr paralyzed though. Crocodile is sent back out, and Ash starts with Stone Edge, but Conkeldurr counters with the same attack. Ash tries to go with Dig, but Conkeldurr places his concrete blocks on the ground to block Crocodile from resurfacing properly. Ash continues to try different attacks, but Crocodile struggles to land a proper hit. Ash feels like he's in perfect control, so Conkeldurr goes for a Hammer Arm, but he's stopped by Paralysis. This gives Crocodile the perfect chance to hit an Aerial Ace, knocking Conkeldurr down. Ash commands another one, striking Conkeldurr from behind. Ash tells Crocodile to finish it off with Dragon Claw. The move lands, but Conkeldurr remains standing and strikes back with a hard Hammer Arm. The single attack knocks Crocodile out. This shocks Ash, but Alder notes that his Conkeldurr has Guts, powering up his Pokemon now that he's paralyzed. Leavanny is Ash's final choice. Conkeldurr goes for a Stone Edge, but Leavanny intercepts it with a quick Razor Leaf. She then uses a follow-up Energy Ball for big damage. Alder commands Fling, but Ash has his Leavanny tie Conkeldurr up with String Shot to prevent it from moving. Leavanny then hits more Energy Ball attacks, but Conkeldurr eventually breaks free thanks to his Power Boost from Guts. He then uses a Stone Edge for big damage on Leavanny. Leavanny struggles to her feet and begins to glow. It's her Swarm ability. Leavanny uses X-Scissor, and Conkeldurr strikes back with Payback. Both Pokemon collide, and they're being pushed to their limits. But Conkeldurr stumbles as a result of being paralyzed, allowing Leavanny to push through and land the powered-up X-Scissor. Conkeldurr falls backward defeated, giving Ash the win. Everyone is in awe and applauds Ash, and he meanwhile thanks Leavanny for her hard work. Alder praises Ash and states that even though he didn't use his strongest Pokemon, this battle felt just like a league battle to him. At this point, he feels Ash has the skills to make it to the finals. Okay guys, we're getting close to moving on to our most important battles, so we're going to have to speed things along here. I didn't want our series to end without Ash battling Hilbert and Hilda, so let's just get into those battles. Hilda is battling a girl named Yancy, and this battle will be sadly mostly off-screen. Yancy states that she wants to win this battle as revenge for her boyfriend Curtis, who Hilda remembers as the first opponent Ash battled. Yancy, like Curtis, is a strong battler, and her Bastiodon and Ursaring deal a hard beating to Hilda's Scrafty and Superior. But thanks to Scrafty's type advantage and Superior's great support, Hilda winds up winning. Yancy is devastated to have lost after making it so far, but Curtis comes and congratulates her for doing so well. They then happily leave together, both thanking Hilda for the great battle. Hilda is a bit confused by the lovebirds, but happy over her victory. Meanwhile, the next matchup is a shock to everyone. It's Ash versus Hilbert. Hilbert is beyond nervous, since he knows how strong of a trainer Ash is, and seeing how he just defeated some of Champion Alder's Pokemon, it makes him even more nervous. Regardless, he tells Ash that he looks forward to their match. The night before the battle, Hilbert trains with his team like crazy. He doesn't know which Pokemon Ash will be bringing to their battle, so he tries to create a well-rounded trio to face him. He thinks back to all the battles he had against N and the rest of Team Plasma over his journey, not to mention facing off against Kyurem, and he feels like he and his Pokemon have the power to take Ash down. The battles take place the next day. Hilbert isn't nervous anymore. He knows that confidence will be what will help push him and his team toward victory. Ash is the first to send out a Pokemon, and it's his Infernape. Hilbert immediately sends out Samurott as a counter. Ash knows how strong Hilbert's Samurott is, but he knows Infernape's power as well, so he isn't worried by the type disadvantage. Ash has Infernape start with Mach Punch, but Hilbert's Samurott blocks it with his Scimitar, then counters with Razor Shell. Infernape is hit hard, but recovers quickly to use Dig. Samurott tries to listen out for Infernape, but he's too fast and lands the hard hit. Samurott recovers and uses Aqua Jet, and Infernape counters it with Flare Blitz. To Hilbert's shock, Infernape actually pushes Samurott back. Hilbert commands Fury Cutter, but Infernape dodges with Dig and then pops up to hit a Flamethrower from behind. Hilbert becomes stressed, as Samurott is taking a beating, and Ash decides to keep up the pressure by ordering another Mach Punch. Samurott tries to block the hit, but he's too slow and is pushed back by a flurry of punches. Samurott is clearly becoming overwhelmed, and Hilbert slowly starts to panic. He calls out to Samurott, who struggles to land a hit on a speedy opponent. Samurott is breathing heavily and looks close to fading, so Ash decides to finish things with Flare Blitz. At the last second before it hits, Samurott blocks it with a Razor Shell. He starts to get pushed back, but suddenly he begins glowing a bright blue. And before anyone can question it, a huge deluge of water is shot from Samurott's mouth at Infernape, pushing him back and causing a cloud of steam to shroud the arena. It was Hydro Cannon. Infernape is shaken up, and Ash asks if he's okay. He responds with a thumbs up, so Ash orders another Mach Punch. Infernape is injured but lunges forward for the attack. Samurott must recharge his energy, but he does find a way to block the attack, simply ducking his head down and allowing his shell helmet to take the brunt of the attack. He's pushed back a bit, but maintains his footing by digging his claws into the ground. A Razor Shell to Infernape's stomach lands a devastating critical hit, knocking him backward. So Hilbert calls for another Hydro Cannon to finish things. Infernape tries to get back up to land a counterattack, but he's slammed by the Hydro Cannon, finishing him off. Hilbert is thrilled to have gotten the first win, and Ash is impressed at seeing Samurott's passion to win for Hilbert. He recalls Infernape and thanks him for the hard work, then sends in Sceptile. The two Pokemon glare at each other fiercely. Since Samurott needs to recharge, Ash calls for a Leaf Blade, but this time Samurott uses the horn on his head to block the hit, though he's still pushed backward. Hilbert quickly orders a Fury Cutter, but Sceptile blocks with Pound. Samurott goes in for another stronger Fury Cutter, but Sceptile intercepts the glowing Scimitar with Leaf Blade. Hilbert orders Hydro Cannon, but before he can even prepare the move, Ash commands Sceptile to use Leaf Storm. Thanks to his speed, he turns around to launch the attack, then sends Samurott flying. The Sea Lion lands on the ground in front of Hilbert. His vision is blurred and he tries to get back up, but he falls back down, unconscious. Hilbert recalls Samurott and praises him for his earlier work, along with his new move. His next choice is Aselgor. Once again, Ash is unfazed by the type disadvantage and commands Quick Attack. The move hits several times, knocking Aselgor around. He's able to slow Sceptile down with a strong Bug Buzz. He then uses Swift to deal a hard hit. Sceptile remains vigilant and lands several Leaf Blade attacks. Aselgor tries to dodge with agility, but Sceptile is just that much faster. Aselgor uses Bug Buzz, and Sceptile counters with Leaf Storm. The collision results in a massive explosion, knocking both Pokemon back. Ash orders Pound, and Hilbert tells Aselgor to dodge with agility, then hit Bug Buzz, and the move does a lot of damage. Sceptile is almost out, but he soon begins glowing, activating his Overgrow ability. Hilbert does not want to risk Aselgor taking a hard hit, so he commands the bug to finish the weak Gecko with Hyper Beam. Ash counters with Leaf Storm. Another huge blast shakes the battlefield, and this time both Pokemon fall. Hilbert and Ash send out their final Pokemon, Fracture and Snorlax. Hilbert is a bit nervous as Snorlax looks strong to him, but maybe Fracture can win with speed. Ash starts by commanding Body Slam, but Fracture dodges and uses Dragon Rage. The attack lands, but Snorlax doesn't seem all too injured. Fracture tries to use Dragon Claw, but once again Snorlax intercepts, this time with Mega Punch, and the two Pokemon push each other back. Hilbert orders Incinerate, but Snorlax is again bulky enough to resist the hit. Fracture continues using his attacks over and over, but Snorlax barely seems phased. Fracture starts to become annoyed and strikes numerous Dragon Claw attacks, as Snorlax does seem to be noticeably hurt. But Snorlax uses Body Slam again, and this time he manages to land the attack, crushing Fracture. Hilbert calls out to Fracture, who manages to rise to his feet. Hilbert decides that he needs to land a major hit. He orders Fracture to aim Dragon Rage at Snorlax's legs, and this causes the massive behemoth to fall over. Hilbert takes this opening to order Guillotine for the finishing strike. Fracture rushes in, but at the last second, Snorlax uses Protect to block all damage. Fracture uses all of his might to push through and break the defensive barrier. He finally manages to do so, but by this time, Snorlax has had enough time to charge up his secret weapon, a powerful Ice Punch to the face. This strong hit takes down Fracture, ending the battle in Ash's favor. Ash is thrilled over the win and hugs Snorlax in joy. Hilbert isn't too upset over the loss though, as he was happy to be able to take down 2 of Ash's strong Pokemon. This shows him how much he's grown over his journey, which excites him. Ash likewise tells Hilbert that the battle was great, and he was happy to finally face him. Hilda and Hugh make it through their matches as well, so they along with Ash make it to the next round. And this time, it'll be Ash and Hilda facing each other. Hugh meanwhile will be facing a Kanto gym leader. Hilda isn't too nervous about her battle though. Seeing how well her brother did gives her confidence that she'll be able to take on Ash as well, since the two of them had similar training over the course of their journeys. She is aware that she doesn't know Ash's full roster though, so he could have any super strong Pokemon lying in wait. She makes sure to work on creating some interesting battle strategies to prepare for anything Ash could throw at her. The next day, Hilda is fired up. She's confident that she can win this battle. Ash is just as excited to battle Hilda as Hilbert, and notes their intense battle styles, and plans to keep a similar mindset as when he took on Hilbert. He decides that his first choice will be Tauros, and Hilda sends out Saucebuck. Saucebuck starts out with a strong jump kick, dealing a big hit to Tauros. He retaliates with Takedown, hurling Saucebuck back. Hilda is stunned by the power of Tauros and commands Saucebuck to use Horn Leech, but Tauros intercepts with Horn Attack. Saucebuck regains a little bit of her health, but Tauros effortlessly pushes Saucebuck back once more. Hilda remains calm and commands Leech Seed, but Ash was prepared for this and commands Double Team. With so many Tauros on the field, Saucebuck has no idea who to aim her attack at. This is when Ash commands Fissure. Tauros and his duplicates slam their hooves on the ground, shooting an energy beam which strikes Saucebuck and knocks her out. Hilda is nervous now, as she didn't expect to lose a Pokemon so quickly, but Hilbert calls out to her to not become overwhelmed. She nods and brings in Emolga. Emolga immediately uses Discharge to destroy the Double Team duplicates and hit Tauros. The Pokemon is stunned, but remains standing. Ash orders a Horn Attack, and Emolga goes in with Aerial Ace. But right before the Pokemon strike, Emolga pulls upward and out of the way. Then she lands a Hidden Power from behind. Tauros tries another takedown, but Emolga uses Attract. At this point, Tauros becomes unwilling to fight back against Emolga, so Emolga just needs to land a few more Aerial Aces and a final Discharge for the win. Ash is impressed by Hilda's strategy and sends out Muck next. Hilda decides to continue with her successful strategy and commands Attract. Ash tries to counter with Venoshock, but Muck becomes infatuated, so once again, Hilda thinks this will be an easy win. Ash orders Sludge Bomb, but Muck does not attack. Hilda orders Hidden Power, and though the attack strikes, Muck seems totally unfazed. Emolga tries Discharge, but once again, Muck seems virtually unharmed. Hilbert sees that just like Ash's Snorlax, Muck seems to be very strong defensively, and fears that Emolga may struggle to deal big damage. Hilda decides to try Aerial Ace, but once again, Muck's sludgy body is resistant to all damages. Hilda is about to call out another attack, but before she can, while utterly infatuated, Muck goes in for a hug since Emolga is up close, completely smothering the squirrel. Everyone is shocked, including Ash, but Hilda orders Discharge. Muck is hit with a strong jolt, but inadvertently uses Body Slam, simply wanting to give Emolga another hug. This actually takes the Pokemon out, much to Hilda's dismay and the shock of the crowd. Muck then snaps out of his infatuation, confused on what even happened. Hilda is stunned by the unorthodox loss, but doesn't worry too much. Her final Pokemon can handle this. She sends out Excadrill and commands Drill Run. The attack strikes Muck, but he tries to maintain his composure. But Hilda tells Excadrill to push through, and the mole does so, finally knocking Muck back. Muck aims a Focus Blast, but Excadrill uses a follow-up dig to avoid the attack and finish off Muck. Ash praises Muck for his great battling and brings in his final Pokemon, Kingler. Hilda commands Metal Claw, and Kingler intercepts with Crabhammer. The Pokemon clash, but Excadrill seems to have a slight edge. Hilda tries to take a page from her brother's book and commands Horn Drill, but Kingler pushes Excadrill back with Scald. This also burns the Pokemon, causing him a lot of pain. He refuses to back down, however, and lunges in for another Metal Claw. But once again, this is stopped by Crabhammer. And with Excadrill now burned, Kingler is now able to push back the weakened mole. Hilda knows that Horn Drill is now her best chance to win, so she comes up with a plan to land it. She has Excadrill use Dig to create holes all over the battlefield. This disorients Kingler, and he has no clue where to look out for Excadrill. But throughout this, Excadrill still suffers from burn damage. Hilda uses this as her big chance, so she orders Excadrill to dive into one of the holes to prepare the Horn Drill attack. But Ash has a perfect counter for this, and has Kingler use Surf, creating a giant wave which covers the entire battlefield. Excadrill has no choice but to resurface, and when he does, he's caught in the massive wave. Kingler then lands an additional Crab Hammer, finishing him off, giving Ash the win. Hilda is disappointed, as she came so close to winning with her unique strategies, but Ash was simply too prepared with his own strategies to overcome hers. Ash compliments her on battling so well, and admits that she very well could have won that battle had things gone a bit differently. But he had fun, and was happy to face her in a serious battle. Hilda thanks him, and congratulates him for making it to the top 4. After their battle ends, Ash, Hilda, and Hilbert head over to catch up to Hugh's battle, but they're shocked when they get to the battlefield and see Hugh's Emboar fainting. That was his final Pokemon, meaning he lost his battle. The others are stunned, as they know how strong Hugh is. They knew he was facing a Kanto gym leader, but when Ash looks over to Hugh's victorious opponent, he doesn't even recognize the person. The announcer states that Hugh has just been defeated by the leader of the Viridian Gym, Ground-type user Giovanni. Okay guys, before we move on, we have to address something very important. I've not brought this up before now because, well, no one ever asked. But you may or may not have noticed that the Team Rocket trio of Jessie, James, and Meowth have never appeared in any of my rewrite series. That's because they don't exist. Okay, let me clarify. I didn't do an official video of a rewrite for the original series because I said I really wouldn't have changed much, and that remains true. However, one thing I would have changed for sure would have been finishing off the Rocket Trio story in Johto. I still don't know how I would have done that. Probably would have been similar to the Rocket downfall in the games, but I plan to eventually make a video covering my full rewrite of Ash's story, so I'll go into that there. But for all intents and purposes, the trio of Jessie, James, and Meowth would have stopped following Ash around by the end of Johto. This is why they don't appear in my other rewrites, nor did they appear anywhere in this one. If you watched part 1, you'll notice that I replaced all of the major Team Rocket antics with Team Plasma. This is because the Team Rocket trio would have long stopped pursuing Ash, since Team Rocket would have been disbanded by Giovanni after the organization's downfall in Johto. And then Giovanni would have quietly returned as the Viridian City gym leader, eventually becoming the strongest gym leader in the region. And that's why Giovanni is here in the Pokémon World Tournament as the Viridian City gym leader, and now as Ash's next opponent. Ash is stunned as he sees his picture on the announcement screen paired against Giovanni in the semifinals. Ash recognizes the other 2 individuals in the top 4, and for a second thinks on how their battle may fare. But he brushes that thought aside, because now he needs to prepare for what looks like a very intense battle of his own. While doing some last-minute training at night, Ash remembers visiting the Viridian Gym in the past when he first journeyed through Kanto, but he never met the actual gym leader. He wonders if this Giovanni guy was always the leader, or if he only became the leader in recent time. Ash will have to figure that out later, because at this moment, the only thing he can think about is his battle tomorrow. This Giovanni guy is the last person standing in between him and the finals. He made it to the Unova League finals, just as he wanted to, but of course, his battle with Hugh had no victor. That's what prompted him to battle in the Pokémon World Tournament anyway, and he can't lose now. Making it all the way to lose in the semifinals would be devastating. No, he needs to reach the finals, and this time win. And to do that, all he needs to do is defeat Giovanni. The next morning, Ash heads to the stadium bright and early, anticipating the intense battle. All of his friends sit in the stands, anxious. Hugh especially informs the others of how vicious Giovanni's battle style was, and he hopes Ash will be okay. Ash is a bit nervous as Giovanni hasn't arrived yet, and he wonders what could be keeping him. But soon, the man makes it to his side of the battlefield, right as the announcer prepares to open the match. And host Alder shocks everyone as he states that Giovanni had just personally requested that this semi-final match be a full 6-on-6 battle. This stuns everyone in attendance, none more than Ash himself, who is expecting another 3-on-3. Alder asks Ash if he's okay with this change. After all, both participants must agree. Ash says that he's fine with this. Thankfully, he prepared 6 Pokemon, which he planned to choose from as he gauged how things were going over the course of the battle. Though now, it looks like all of them will make an appearance. Giovanni himself then speaks. He introduces himself as the strongest gym leader from Kanto. He's defeated all of the other gym leaders in battles at one point or another, and even went on to beat the Elite Four members and their champion. But he rejected the champion position, as he considers the position too low for him. He says that he wants to show the world that he is not just the strongest gym leader, but the strongest person from the Kanto region, which is why he requested that this battle be a full battle, as well as the finals, which he knows he'll be the one to reach. Ash expresses his eagerness to take Giovanni on, and to show that he's going to be the one to win. Giovanni smirks, clearly doubting the boy. The referee allows the battle to commence. Giovanni makes the first move, and sends out his first Pokemon, Marowak. Ash then sends out his first choice, Corphish. Giovanni frowns. Does this kid think this is a joke? He scolds Ash, saying that he's battling the strongest gym leader ever, and he has the nerve to face him with a Pokemon that isn't even fully evolved. Type advantage alone won't be enough to defeat his Pokemon. But Ash smiles, and says that his Pokemon are strong just the way they are, and he'll prove it. Corphish likewise proudly yells at Giovanni as well, boasting his own strength. The battle then begins. Ash starts by commanding Swords Dance, while Giovanni begins by telling his Marowak to use Bone Meringue. The attack is used, but Corphish is able to avoid the first hit. Ash then orders a Crab Hammer, but Marowak intercepts with Thunder Punch. Ash is stunned at seeing the super effective move, and while Corphish is distracted, the second Bone Meringue hits him in the back for big damage. Corphish shakes off the hit and remains steady. Giovanni taunts Ash, telling him that he told him already that his type advantage meant nothing here. Ash tells him that he and Corphish aren't concerned about the Thunder Punch, and they'll battle until the end regardless. Giovanni orders Marowak to use Stone Edge, and a barrage of sharp rocks fly at Corphish. But Ash has the Pokemon use Harden, boosting its defenses so that he better resist the hit. Giovanni calls for another Thunder Punch, but this time, Ash has Corphish use Ice Beam, aimed directly at Marowak's fist. The attack lands, and Marowak pushes through, causing it to essentially hit Corphish with an Ice Punch instead of a Thunder Punch. And with minimal damage taken, and his opponent up so close, Corphish lands a powered-up Crab Hammer for huge damage. This infuriates Giovanni. He can't believe he's being toyed with by this kid. He decides to have Marowak channel his own anger, and he calls for outrage. Ash has Corphish use Harden, and while he does, Marowak is pummeling Corphish with an extreme intensity from outrage, dealing a hard beating regardless. Marowak continues to deal a heavy smackdown onto Corphish with his bone weapon until Ash gets the idea to have Corphish use Crab Hammer to knock Marowak's bone away. This stuns Giovanni, and the small crab is able to disarm his opponent. And while Marowak is halted, Corphish uses a point-blank Ice Beam, freezing much of Marowak's body. Giovanni orders the Pokemon to break free, but it's utterly powerless to do anything. Ash then has Corphish finish off Marowak with Crab Hammer. Marowak falls, thus giving Ash the first win of the battle. The audience cheers, but it's only momentarily as Giovanni erupts in a rage. He yells that there is no way he's going to be outplayed by this 10-year-old boy who can't even be bothered to evolve his Pokemon. He quickly calms down, but furiously he sends out his next Pokemon, Nidoking. Ash asks Corphish if he's okay to continue, and he nods. The little crab starts off with an Ice Beam, while Nidoking counters with Blizzard. Nidoking manages to overpower Corphish, though the attack doesn't deal too much damage. Ash decides to order another Swords Dance, and this angers Giovanni. He refuses to allow this Pokemon to deal any more damage to his Pokemon. He commands Earth Power, and this move sends Corphish flying. Giovanni tells Nidoking to use Mega Horn once Corphish lands. However, Ash thinks quickly and tells Corphish to use Ice Beam on the ground. He does, and this causes Nidoking to slip and slide across the ground. Corphish is then able to strike a hard Crab Hammer to Nidoking's back as he lands. The enraged Giovanni is furious at yet another one of these crazy improvised tactics, so he commands Nidoking to use Sludge Wave. Nidoking launches the attack at the crab, who's now at point-blank range, and it slams into him. A follow-up Megahorn knocks him out, ending the battle. Ash recalls Corphish, thanking him for doing so well right off the bat. He then sends in Staraptor. The decision confuses Giovanni, since he's already shown that Nidoking knows Blizzard. But no matter. He orders said Ice type attack, but this time Ash smirks and has Staraptor use his new move, Heat Wave. Giovanni is stunned to see this. In the stands, Hilda recalls seeing Ash training his Staraptor and Torkoal together days prior. Perhaps the fire type helped teach Staraptor the move. The fiery attack burns right through the blizzard, dealing a big hit to Nidoking. But the large Pokemon breaks through, and Giovanni calls for a Sludge Wave. The attack deals a decently hard hit to Staraptor, and he even becomes poisoned. This has Ash concerned, as now Staraptor will become weaker over time. Ash decides he needs to go all out before Staraptor can become overwhelmed. Giovanni has Nidoking rush in with Mega Horn, and Ash counters it with Brave Bird. Both Pokemon collide in the center of the battlefield, landing a massive collision attack which pushes them both back. Unfortunately, Staraptor is hit back just a bit harder, and with the added recoil and poison damage, he's in a lot of pain. This allows Nidoking to land a blizzard attack up close. Staraptor is hurt badly, but still remains standing. Giovanni thinks he can finish things now, and orders Sludge Wave. But Ash has Staraptor blow the attack away with Heat Wave. The attacks collide, and this causes the Sludge Wave to essentially become a form of molten liquid, which is blown back to hit Nidoking. The Pokemon shrieks in pain, and with this opening, Ash orders close combat. Staraptor dives in and lands a barrage of hits and kicks against Nidoking, knocking it down. The Pokemon pulls itself together and runs in for one more Mega Horn, while Ash tells Staraptor to use another new move, Facade. Staraptor's body glows brightly, taking the damage from the poison, channeling it into a powerful attack, which collides into Nidoking. An explosion rings out into the battlefield, shrouding everything in smoke. When the dust clears, Staraptor is hunched over, but just barely standing. While Nidoking is unconscious, Ash has taken down another one of Giovanni's Pokemon. His friends cheer in the crowd, and this only makes Giovanni angrier. How is a mere child doing so well? It doesn't matter. He won't be winning. Golem is Giovanni's next choice for this full battle. It's not a good matchup for Staraptor. Ash considers recalling the bird, but he seems to already know what Ash is thinking and refuses to exit. Looking back at his trainer with a nod, the two share the same thought. Ash orders a close combat, and the giant hawk launches forward at an incredible speed. Giovanni decides to take this chance to command Stealth Rock. So even while Golem is taking a beating, Giovanni is pleased to know that Ash's incoming Pokemon will take damage upon entering. And that will be pretty soon, because the poison damage has started to catch up with Staraptor. He deals as many hits with close combat as he can, but eventually he's in too much pain. And once he pauses, Golem uses a close-range Rock Blast, ending Staraptor's run in this battle. Ash's friends are sad to see another one of his Pokemon go down, but Staraptor, just like Corphish, put in a lot of work. And Ash knows his next choice would do the same. As he recalls Staraptor, thanking him for the great work, he replaces him with Totodile, who was instantly hurt by the Stealth Rocks. Despite this, the small Pokemon gets back up and begins dancing happily, the complete opposite reaction of Giovanni, who's quietly fuming again. Another unevolved Pokemon? This kid is belittling him. Giovanni yells at Ash for not bringing his best. He focused on type advantages and not power, and that will get him nowhere. But Ash says that all of his Pokemon are the best, and this group will defeat him. Giovanni simply grimaces and has Golem use Bulldoze. This sends Totodile flying back into the air. Golem follows with a Rock Blast, but Ash has Totodile intercept this attack with Hydro Pump. The Hydro Pump pushes through the Rock Blast and slams into Golem for a big hit. As Totodile lands, Ash orders him to use Aqua Jet. The Pokemon quickly dashes over to Golem, and Giovanni counters this by having Golem use Mega Punch. The Pokemon collide, but Golem manages to push Totodile back. But as Totodile flips back, he fires off another quick Hydro Pump, which strikes Golem before he can recover. Giovanni is becoming frustrated. He commands another Rock Blast. But Ash tells Totodile to show off his newest trick. The small creature nods, using Double Team, leaving Golem unable to hit the proper target. Totodile and his clones begin dancing joyfully, bouncing around, leaving Golem highly annoyed. He begins sending off Rock Blasts at each crocodile he sees, but he doesn't get the real Totodile. Well, the real one was behind him all along, and hits an Aqua Jet for decent damage. Giovanni decides to have Golem use Bulldoze to strike everything on the field, locating the real Totodile and hitting major damage. Golem then goes in for another Mega Punch, but right before it lands, Totodile hits Ice Fang, latching onto Golem's arm and beginning to freeze it. Giovanni does not want a repeat of what happened to Marowak, so he orders a Rock Blast to get Totodile to let go. But at the last second, Totodile blasts Golem with a point-blank Hydro Pump, taking him down. Ash and Pikachu cheer for Totodile, who dances happily on the field over his win. Giovanni, on the other hand, can't believe this. How is this child defeating all of his Pokemon like this? He's starting to wonder if maybe he's the one missing something. No, he won't allow this. The child's reign ends here. Nidoqueen enters the battle next, and she immediately uses Thunder at her trainer's command. Ash has Totodile dodge with Double Team, but this was just bait, and Giovanni orders an Earth Power. The move is launched, destroying the clones and sending the real Totodile hurtling into the air. Ash tries to regain control by commanding Aqua Jet, but Nidoqueen manages to intercept with Poison Jab. With Totodile now within her grasp, another Thunder from Nidoqueen defeats Totodile. Ash recalls the little crocodile and congratulates him on the win. Sharon meanwhile comments that this battle has been pretty even thus far, with each trainer getting a knockout one after the other. He wonders if Ash or Giovanni will change tactics soon. Ash sends out Glalie next, and the floating monster is hit with Stealth Rocks right away. He tries to ignore the pain, however, wanting to battle well for Ash. Giovanni is unfazed by this, despite the type disadvantage, and commands Nidoqueen to use Poison Jab. Once she gets in close, Glalie hits a hard Frost Breath. Nidoqueen does take a big hit, but her attack manages to poison Glalie. Ash is a bit annoyed at having to deal with another Pokemon being poisoned, but he remains calm. But Giovanni truly unnerves him, with Nidoqueen using Superpower, landing a critical hit for major damage. Ash does not want Glalie to take too much damage, so he recalls him for Swellow. The bird takes a hard Stealth Rock hit, but shakes it off like it's nothing, impressing Ash's friends in the audience. By the way guys, Swellow is another one of the Pokemon that I assumed was a female when I was a child. Blame it on Taylor's really high-pitched girly voice in the show I watched. So yeah, I'm going to be referring to Swellow as a girl here because in my version, I would have just rewritten to be a female right off the bat. Once again, Giovanni has no issue with this change in the battle and orders Thunder. Swellow dodges with Quick Attack and then quickly charges up and hits her newest move, Sky Attack. And this is actually strong enough to knock Nidoqueen off her feet. Giovanni orders Thunder again, but Swellow can dodge with Double Team. This annoys Giovanni, since unlike with Totodile, he can't command Earth Power on the flying type. As such, he has no choice but to simply tell Nidoqueen to stay put. Ash tries to remain observant, but the ever battle-hungry Swellow isn't interested in just waiting around, so Ash tells her to use another Sky Attack. Swellow charges up the move and hits Nidoqueen once more, while she uses Poison Jab. It's a strong hit, but Swellow's willpower is stronger, and the bird pushes herself to strike Nidoqueen, which knocks her back once more. Giovanni is certain that Nidoqueen can win this, so he commands Superpower. Nidoqueen delivers a powerful punch, but Swellow remains resilient. The bird shakes itself off and hits several quick attacks. Giovanni demands another Thunder, but once again, Swellow uses Double Team to disorient Nidoqueen. But Giovanni is done playing games and simply commands Nidoqueen to direct Thunder everywhere. The real Swellow remains hidden behind Nidoqueen and flies in with Sky Attack. But Giovanni sees this coming this time, and when Swellow dives in, Nidoqueen is ready with a Poison Jab. Swellow takes the hard hit, but to the shock of the gym leader and the crowd, Swellow just gets back up. Ash proudly states that Swellow is one of his most resilient Pokemon, and she will not go down until exhausting every ounce of energy. With this in mind, Giovanni simply calls for another superpower. As Nidoqueen gathers all of her strength, Swellow does the same, preparing yet another Sky Attack. The Pokemon rush forward, and Ash tells Swellow to use Quick Attack in addition to the Sky Attack to boost her speed. The Pokemon collide, creating a massive cloud of smoke. When the dust settles, both Pokemon are exhausted, but Nidoqueen is the one who falls moments later, stunning Giovanni. The man feels like he can't take this anymore. How is he down to only 2 Pokemon while this trainer still has 3? He can't believe this. Ash meanwhile is overjoyed, thrilled over how this match is going. He doesn't let his guard down though, because he knows how strong this man is, considering how he defeated Hugh. So when Giovanni brings in Sandslash, Ash cautiously commands Double Team from Swellow. But this is to no avail, as Sandslash obliterates the clones with Rock Slide. Swellow tries to avoid giant boulders which rain down on the battlefield, but still gets hit. She's not out yet, but she's taken a huge amount of damage. The bird thinks about her trainer's motto though, it's not over until it's over. As such, when Sandslash rushes in with Brick Break, Swellow uses the last bit of her remaining strength to strike it with a brand new move. Knowing how much of a diligent fighter Swellow is, Professor Oak recommended teaching the Pokemon this move. Ash agreed that he felt that out of all of his Pokemon, Swellow would be able to use it to the best of her capabilities, so she lands Endeavor. The moves collide, each doing major damage to each other. Both are thrown back, with Sandslash struggling to its feet, while Swellow finally reaches her end and is declared unable to battle. Ash is beyond grateful to Swallow for finally taking down Nidoqueen and landing the major hit on Sandslash before going down. Meanwhile, Hilda is confused. She asks what Endeavor does. Charon explains that it's an interesting normal type move. It basically deals a specific hit based on how much damage the Pokemon has taken, bringing the Pokemon on an almost equal playing field. Since Swallow had used the attack when she was nearly down, it's surely done a huge number to Sandslash. And this should give Ash's incoming Pokemon an easier time. That Pokemon winds up being Glalie. The Pokemon returns to the battlefield and takes Stealth Rock damage once more. That combined with the poison damage gives him a painful second entrance to the battle. Ash informs Glalie that Swallow has done a great job weakening Sandslash and asks him to hold on just a bit. Glalie nods, not wanting Swallow's hard work to go to waste. Giovanni, however, tries to end things quickly. He commands Dig from Sandslash. The mouse Pokemon dives underground and strikes Glalie quickly. He tries to hit back with Frost Breath, but Sandslash dodges by diving back underground. This gives Ash the idea to have Glalie use Blizzard on the ground. With the battlefield now frozen, Sandslash is a bit delayed in resurfacing, allowing Glalie to pinpoint Sandslash's location before he gets back up, and he can strike with Blizzard. Sandslash is badly hurt, but Giovanni harshly orders to continue fighting. He orders Brick Break, and the Pokemon obeys his trainer's command, despite the pain he's in. Ash tells Glalie to push Sandslash back with Frost Breath, but it barrels forward regardless. Ash feels like he has no choice but to command Avalanche. As Sandslash lands the hit, a vortex opens in the sky, raining down huge chunks of ice to bury it instantly. The audience is in awe, everyone wondering which Pokemon will make it out of this as the winner. Their question is answered as the smoke clears, and Sandslash is clearly defeated, while Glalie remains conscious. Ash celebrates, as Giovanni is in disbelief. Hilda and Hilbert cheer too, but it's only for a few moments. Glalie shrieks in pain. It's clear that while he made it out of that final clash as the winner, Nidoqueen's poison has taken its final toll. Glalie falls mere moments after Sandslash was deemed unable to battle and meets the same fate. Both Pokemon are out, meaning it's down to Ash and Giovanni's final Pokemon. Giovanni relaxes a bit at this. Not that he doubted that his final Pokemon could finish off two of Ash's, but this does make things easier. The man is actually a bit pleased that he'll be able to tear down the hopes of this boy, who thought that he could get so far and will now lose in this final showdown. Giovanni actually praises Ash for managing to defeat most of his Pokemon, but adds that he feels that it was mostly luck. All of his Pokemon so far have had some type of advantage over ground types, and even still, many of them struggled. He tells Ash that not evolving a lot of his Pokemon is definitely his weakness and will likely be his downfall in the future. He also taunts him for the unevolved Pikachu sitting on his shoulder. Had he used a fully evolved team, maybe, just maybe, he could have fared better. But now, no matter which Pokemon he uses, it'll only face defeat. Giovanni ends his speech by pulling out an Ultra Ball and sending out his Rhyperior to the battlefield. Ash tells Giovanni that his Pokemon don't need to evolve to be strong, and he'll prove it with his final choice. Ash thanks Corphish, Staraptor, Totodile, Swallow, and Glalie for all doing well thus far. His final Pokemon will bring this battle to a close. Ash sends out Bulbasaur. Giovanni doesn't even make a comment about the Pokemon. He's already said what needed to be said. This boy will learn just how foolish of a trainer he is. Rhyperior starts out by using Stone Edge. Bulbasaur tries to intercept the hits with Sludge Bomb, but he does get hit by a Rock Shard. This knocks him back, so Rhyperior goes in for a Drill Run. The move lands and deals a big hit, sending Bulbasaur flying. Giovanni does not let up and orders Rhyperior to use Hammer Arm. Ash tells Bulbasaur to grab Rhyperior's arm with Power Whip. Rhyperior is caught off guard, but reels Bulbasaur in by his vines to hit the small creature with Hammer Arm. Ash's friends are concerned, as Bulbasaur is taking quite a beating, while having not done much damage yet. But Ash isn't worried, and he orders Bulbasaur to aim Power Whip at Rhyperior's legs. The massive Pokemon tries to dodge, but is far too slow and gets knocked over. This gives Bulbasaur the prime chance to use Giga Drain. Rhyperior takes a noticeable hit here, but he still manages to get back up. Giovanni tells Ash that his Rhyperior has an ability called Solid Rock, weakening the effect of super effective moves. This is why he insisted to Ash that his type advantage meant nothing. He wasn't only prepared for them with his Pokemon's moves, but also their abilities. Ash says that he's overcome everything else Giovanni has thrown at him, so he'll get past this too. Giovanni has Rhyperior use Drill Run once again, but Bulbasaur is quick enough to dodge this time. While dodging, he hits a few Sludge Bombs, but it doesn't bother Rhyperior all too much. A well-timed Hammer-Arm does a major hit to Bulbasaur, knocking him down. With this opening, Rhyperior charges up Rock Wrecker. Bulbasaur has no time to dodge and gets pulverized with a massive rock, sending the small frog dinosaur thing flying into the stadium wall. Ash and Pikachu call out to Bulbasaur, and the Pokemon struggles back to his feet. Giovanni says that the unevolved Pokemon has determination, but it has no chance of ever beating his fully evolved Rhyperior. Bulbasaur becomes angered by this comment, and Ash can tell. He knows how much Bulbasaur wants to win this, and he won't let him down. Ash is familiar with Rock Wrecker as a move, and he knows Rhyperior will need to recharge before using another attack. So Ash has Bulbasaur use Giga Drain once more. This allows him to recover from a lot of the damage from that big hit, though he's not totally in the clear. Rhyperior uses Stone Edge once more, but this time, Bulbasaur flings the rocks away with Power Whip. Ash commands Bulbasaur to use Sludge Bomb once again, but Rhyperior barrels straight through the attack with Drill Run and hits Bulbasaur hard. The Rhinoceros then slams his opponent into the ground with Hammer Arm. Bulbasaur is struggling, but as he glares into Giovanni's face, he knows that he can't fall. Suddenly, he begins glowing bright green, his Overgrow ability activating. Giovanni and Rhyperior are shocked, and Ash orders Power Whip to restrain Rhyperior. Rhyperior is pretty slow, so being constricted is limiting his mobility even more. Ash takes the chance to have Bulbasaur charge up a Solar Beam, but Giovanni orders Stone Edge, since Rhyperior doesn't even need to move to use the attack. The attack is launched, but at the last second, Ash tells Bulbasaur to aim Solar Beam at the ground. This stuns everyone, and Bulbasaur propels himself high into the air to avoid the attack. In a panic, Giovanni commands Rock Wrecker. A massive rock is launched at Bulbasaur, but Ash then tells him to strike the rock with Power Whip. Thanks to his overwhelming desire to win and the power boost from Overgrow, Power Whip manages to slice the rock into pieces, stunning Giovanni and everyone in the audience. Rhyperior needs to recharge once more, so as Bulbasaur falls to the ground, he charges up another Solar Beam. At this point, Rhyperior can do nothing other than brace for the impact. He raises his arms in self-defense, as Ash calls for the strongest Solar Beam Bulbasaur can muster. Bulbasaur lands in the center of the battlefield, roars loudly, and launches the massive beam. And indeed, it's more powerful than Ash has ever seen from him before. It tears into Rhyperior, causing the Pokemon to be blasted backward into the stadium wall, leaving a massive crater. Giovanni can only turn around in shock to see his Pokemon slumped over. He demands for it to get up, and Rhyperior does begin to slowly rise. He takes a step forward and lets out a mighty roar. And to his surprise, Bulbasaur does the same, roaring right back at him. The two Pokemon glare at each other. Right as Rhyperior falls face forward into the ground, it's over. The audience cheers in glee for Ash, and he rushes over to hug Bulbasaur. Giovanni, on the other hand, is stunned. He's speechless. He doesn't even know what to say or think. How could this child defeat him, with such average Pokemon, with many Pokemon who weren't even evolved, against his strongest team who've taken down so many opponents with little issue? It's not possible. He stares forward at the young boy, whose Bulbasaur and Pikachu are nuzzling up to him. Ash praises Bulbasaur for being such a great battler and helping him defeat this gym leader. The celebration is short-lived as Giovanni approaches him. Ash is unsure of what to say to the man, but the gym leader extends a hand, thanking Ash for the battle. He's shown him that in spite of everything he prepared and how powerful his Pokemon were trained to be, he hasn't reached his full potential. He wanted to return home as Kanto's strongest gym leader, only to meet defeat at the hands of a mere child from Kanto. In Giovanni's eyes, Ash has surpassed him, and he thanks him for showing him how much room he has to grow from here. Ash thanks Giovanni for the kind words and shakes his hand. The audience cheers, and Giovanni gives Ash one last message. He tells the young boy to win his next battle. If he can defeat his final opponent and become the winner of the Pokémon World Tournament, he'll consider him the strongest trainer in all of Kanto. Ash is thrilled. He's made it to the finals, just like he did in the Virtuous Conference all those months ago. Back then, he was so close to winning the league, but sadly that chance was taken from him. But not this time. He may not have been able to become the Unova League winner, but he plans to become the Pokémon World Tournament winner. Once again, everything is going to come down to one battle. Later that day, the second semifinal match takes place. Ash, Hilda, and Hilbert watch two familiar faces battle. Hilda and Hilbert instantly recognize one challenger. It's Iris, the girl they met in Opelousas City when they first arrived to the place. Her opponent is Roxy of the Verbank Gym. Ash remembers her from when Hugh battled her and his Pokemon utterly overpowered her. Looks like she was able to make it far in this competition though. Bianca comments that Roxy has been devastating this tournament with her vicious strategy of badly poisoning all of her opponent's Pokemon, then hammering them with Venom Shock attacks. But it looks like Iris's Pokemon have been able to fight through everything Roxy has thrown at her, and her Haxorus defeats Roxy's Garbodor. The referee calls Iris as the winner, so it looks like Ash will be battling Iris in the finals. Their battles will take place the next day. Ash decides to do some last-minute training throughout the rest of the day. This will be his most important battle in the Unova region, second only to his league battle, but this time, he refuses to leave without victory, so he plans to give this final battle everything he has. The next morning, Ash and Iris meet on the battlefield. Ash is only vaguely familiar with the girl, as he never actually spoke to her back when he first visited Opelucid City. Hilda and Hilbert mainly conversed with her, and they were only really talking about Reshiram and Zekrom. Ash truly didn't even think that the girl was a trainer. Thankfully, Iris explains herself before the battle begins. She informs Ash that she decided to partake in this competition for one reason. This is a test for her, assigned by Drayden, the Opelucid gym leader. This is a test to see if she can become the next leader. This shocks Ash, but Iris continues. Drayden is actually Iris's mentor and has recently been contemplating stepping down as gym leader. Iris naturally stepped up for the role, but Drayden wasn't 100% sure if she was ready yet. So he requested that she enter this competition, and if she was able to win, she'd prove that she was strong enough to take over as gym leader. And now she's made it to the finals. Only one thing is standing in her way from becoming the next gym leader of Opelucid City, and that's Ash. Ash is impressed to hear this, but he tells Iris that she won't be winning this. He will. This is going to be the tournament where he takes victory after he wasn't able to do so in the Virtuous Conference. All of Ash's friends are in deep thought. The stakes are high for both challengers here. Whoever wants this victory more will be the one to be able to push through. The referee says that this final battle of the Pokémon World Tournament can now begin. Iris sends out her first Pokémon, Hydreigon. Ash decides to start with his own aerial battler, Unfezant. Iris starts by commanding Dragon Pulse, but Ash orders Unfezant to dodge. Hydreigon is fast, but Unfezant is faster, and manages to evade the energy spears flying at her. Ash then orders Sky Attack. Iris surprisingly doesn't have her Dragon dodge, but instead orders her to simply use Flamethrower. The Pokemon launches its attack, but Unfezant flies straight through and lands the powerful Sky Attack. With the bird now up close, Iris calls for a Charge Beam. This shocks Ash, no pun intended, not expecting an electric type attack. But Ash doesn't let this distract him and orders another Sky Attack. Unfezant charges her attack, then dives forward, but Iris calls for Dragon Pulse. Unfezant once again manages to dodge the attack, so Hydreigon switches to Flamethrower once more. Unfezant flies through the attack, but this time she's pushed back and is unable to land her attack. Ash is stunned by how much stronger that Flamethrower looked compared to the first one, and this is where Iris comments that this is thanks to Charge Beam, which can make a Pokemon's long-range attacks more powerful. This unnerves Ash, since Unfezant was already having a hard time. He decides that switching into another Pokemon might be best. During Ash's pause, Iris orders Charge Beam, but Ash tells Unfezant to dodge the attack, then use U-turn. Iris was not anticipating a super effective move from Unfezant, and Hydreigon is likewise stunned. She's struck hard by the bird, who returns to her Pokeball. Ash then brings in Pignite, wanting a clear type advantage. He orders Pignite to use Heat Crash. Pignite rushes in with the move, but Iris is unfazed and commands Surf. Ash is stunned as the giant blast of water is shot from one of Hydreigon's mouths and sends Pignite hurtling back. Hydreigon has a clear wide range of moves to handle many opponents. Ash asks Pignite if he's okay, and the pig gets to his feet and confirms that he is. Iris wants to keep control, so she commands Dragon Pulse. But Ash thinks of an idea. He tells Pignite to use Flame Charge to boost his speed. This works, and he manages to evade the Dragon Pulse and hit a few Flame Charges as he continues to grow faster. Iris doesn't want to risk Pignite getting any sort of advantage, so she commands Surf. But Ash has Pignite use Fire Pledge. Numerous fire columns surround Hydreigon for decent damage, so Iris orders a massive Surf to dispel the flames. This works, but it also results in a steam cloud surrounding the battlefield. Hydreigon has lost sight of Pignite, and she's a bit unnerved. And she had every right to be, as Pignite rushes from behind her, hitting Superpower. The massive attack deals a huge hit to Hydreigon, finishing her off, giving Ash the first win. Iris is disappointed to have lost Hydreigon, but is happy that she managed to deal damage to 2 of Ash's Pokemon. Iris' next Pokemon is Archeops. Ash scans the Pokemon with his Pokédex and is surprised to see this is an ancient Pokemon. Even worse, its types perfectly counter Pignite. So Ash recalls Pignite for Pikachu. Ash is interested in Iris using a non-dragon type in her quest to become a dragon type gym leader. But Iris says that her Archeops has learned a lot from her Pokemon and highlights this by calling for Dragon Claw. Archeops rushes in for his attack, but Pikachu manages to just barely dodge with Quick Attack. He then hits a hard Thunderbolt. Archeops then goes for Rock Slide, but Pikachu uses Iron Tail to deflect one of the rocks, hitting it back at Archeops for another big hit. Iris is starting to become annoyed and orders Acrobatics. The Rock Bird does manage to land a few hard hits, knocking Pikachu back. He then uses an immediate Rock Slide, this time crushing Pikachu. The small mouse manages to get back up. Iris calls for Dragon Claw, and Pikachu uses Iron Tail. The Pokemon clash and cause a massive explosion. Iris commands another Rock Slide, and Pikachu tries to dodge, but he's gotten a bit slower due to being tired, so he does get hit hard. Ash doesn't want to risk Pikachu, so he calls him back, and sends out Palpitoad for a better advantage. Iris, shockingly enough, doesn't even recall Archeops, slightly confusing Ash and his friends. Ash calls for Hydro Pump, but Archeops is quick enough to dodge. Iris then stuns by using Endeavor, the same move Ash had used against Giovanni to get a big advantage. The move lands, dealing a major hit to Palpitoad. This must be why Iris didn't bother switching out her Pokemon. She had a move ready to deal a hard hit. Ash is very concerned, but doesn't freak out, and he orders Supersonic. Archeops is too close to dodge, so he falls into a state of confusion. Ash then calls for a second Hydro Pump, and this finishes off Archeops. Ash has 2 wins, but now 4 of his Pokemon have taken a lot of damage. Iris recalls Archeops and thanks him for also wearing down 2 of Ash's Pokemon. Even though he's in the lead, she has plenty of time to turn things around. This actually does unnerve Ash. Iris' strategy is not what he expected, so he needs to be careful. Iris sends out Dredigan next, and Ash feels that he has no choice but to recall Palpitoad for a rest. He decides to send in Pignite. Dredigan uses Focus Blast to start things off, and Pignite uses Flame Charge to dodge. He manages to land a few hits onto the dragon, but she hits a close-range Flamethrower. It doesn't do too much to Pignite, so Ash counters with Superpower. Pignite grabs Dredigan before tossing her onto the ground, dealing a big hit. The Pokemon slowly rises to her feet, roaring in anger. Ash tells Pignite to use Fire Pledge, but Dredigan resists the hit and breaks free from the vortex. Once again though, Pignite manages to use his speed boost to land an attack from behind. This time it's a Heat Crash to Dredigan's back. But this now puts him in the perfect spot to take a Dragon Tail head on. This lands a major hit, finishing off Pignite, giving Iris her first win in the battle. Ash recalls Pignite and praises him for all the hard work he put into the match. Ash's next choice is Unpheasant. Iris isn't concerned, since Hydreigon already wore down Unpheasant earlier in the battle. But Ash, it seems, had a secret weapon, and he calls for Roost. Unpheasant begins glowing, and in an instant, she becomes reinvigorated, healing off a lot of her earlier damage. Iris didn't expect this, but doesn't let this worry her. After all, as long as she can keep up her strategy, she'll win this no matter how long it takes. Ash calls for Sky Attack, and Dredigan uses Rock Slide. Unpheasant manages to avoid most of the rocks coming at her, but does take a few big hits. That said, it doesn't stop her from landing the powerful hit of her own. Up close though, she does take a hard Focus Blast from Dredigan after she shakes off the damage from the prior attack. Unpheasant is dazed but recovers. Iris orders Flamethrower, and this hits Unpheasant hard, but she uses Roost to recover from the damages. Iris commands Focus Blast, but Unpheasant intercepts this with Air Slash. The Air Slash is raining down on Dredigan, causing her to flinch. Ash then takes the chance to order Sky Attack. Unpheasant dives forward for the attack, while Dredigan readies Dragon Tail. The attacks collide, but it's Unpheasant who manages to push through for the win in the end. Iris is down yet another Pokemon, but it's not without some gains on her part. Since Dragon Tail couldn't be fully executed, Unpheasant remains in the battle. Iris then brings in her Haxorus. Ash asks Unpheasant if she'd like to continue, and she nods. Ash decides to start by ordering Roost, but Iris calls for Dragon Dance at the same time. Unpheasant is healed up a bit, but now Haxorus will be landing stronger attacks. Ash calls for Air Slash, but Haxorus is quick enough to dodge. She then rushes in to land a powerful Outrage attack. Unpheasant is ruthlessly pummeled numerous times with a flurry of punches and is nearly taken down. Ash decides that maybe switching would be for the best. Wanting to get off some damage though, he orders U-turn. Unpheasant flies in for the attack, but Haxorus intercepts with another Outrage beating, finishing off Unpheasant. Ash recalls his fainted bird, thanking her for her valiant efforts, and Iris surprises everyone by calling back Haxorus as well. She admits that she knew it was only a matter of time before Outrage rendered Haxorus confused, and she'd prefer to avoid that. She then sends out Aggron, and Ash sends out Crocodile. Ash begins by commanding Dig. Iris is actually pleased by this, and takes this chance to order Autotomize. At first, Ash is confused until Aggron begins to zip around the battlefield at an amazing speed. Crocodile resurfaces, but misses Aggron due to how much faster she is now. She follows that up with a hard double edge, dealing a hard hit. Crocodile is struggling, but he remains resilient. Iris calls for Dragon Rush, and Ash has Crocodile counter with Foul Play. The Pokemon collide for an even match, but it's Crocodile who starts getting pushed back. Iris orders Head Smash, and this deals a huge hit. It's such a hard blow that Crocodile's sunglasses get knocked off during the collision. This goes pretty much unnoticed by Iris, but Crocodile becomes enraged. His body suddenly begins to glow, and he slams his fist into the ground. A shockwave is sent across the battlefield, hurling Aggron into the air and onto her back. In the stands, Hugh says that it looked like Crocodile just used Bulldoze. Everyone is stunned, though none more than Ash, who is excited at the new move. Crocodile puts his glasses back on as he glares at Aggron, who's made it back to her feet, though is severely weakened. Iris thinks this is fine, and simply orders another double edge. However, her movements are sluggish, and Crocodile manages to dodge the attack this time. Iris is confused, since Aggron was just moving faster than ever, thanks to Autotomize. But this is when she remembers that Bulldoze can actually slow Pokemon's movements, meaning Aggron has returned to her typical speed. This terrifies Iris, so she tries to finish things off by commanding Head Smash. Aggron goes in for the attack, but Ash has Crocodile dodge with Aerial Ace. He leaps into the air and glides around Aggron. Iris isn't worried, since Aggron shouldn't be hurt much at all by a flying type move, so she tells Aggron to prepare Dragon Rush. But the Aerial Ace was actually just to give Crocodile more mobility. Instead of hitting Aggron, Ash has Crocodile land and use another Bulldoze. The Crocodile dives down, delivering a powerful punch to the floor, executing the attack. Aggron is launched backward and finally defeated. Ash celebrates, and Iris is actually a bit disappointed, as she thought Aggron would be able to win that one. It's not a big deal though, since just like with most of his other Pokemon, Crocodile is now weakened. Iris sends out Lapras as her 5th Pokemon. Ash knows that Haxorus is still lying in wait, plus this type matchup is not the best, so he recalls Crocodile for Leavanny. Hilbert is a bit nervous by this matchup, since while Leavanny's grass type attacks will be good here, she'll also be weak to any ice attacks Lapras may use. Ash remains confident though, and starts by commanding Energy Ball. Lapras takes the hit well though, and seems very resilient. She counters with Ice Beam, though Leavanny is quick enough to dodge. Lapras uses Hydro Pump, and this manages to hit Leavanny and knock her down. She gets back up quickly though, and Ash has her use Leaf Blade. Ash's friends are stunned by this, as Leavanny has never used this move before. Ash inwardly thanks Sceptile for teaching Leavanny the move in preparation for this battle. The move strikes and lands a huge critical hit onto Lapras, but again, the bulky monster remains standing. She can now land a close-range Ice Beam for a major hit. Leavanny is hurt, but regains her composure. Iris tries not to let up though, and orders Ice Beam on Ash's side of the field. Ash isn't sure how Leavanny will move across the ice, but his question is answered as Lapras fires another Hydro Pump. Leavanny jumps to dodge, but immediately slips on the ground, allowing a follow-up Thunderbolt to strike hard. Leavanny does manage to get back up, though she's stumbling. Ash tries to command Energy Ball, but this is merely intercepted with Ice Beam. Ash is starting to become overwhelmed, but he quickly comes up with an idea. He has Leavanny aim String Shot at Lapras' mouth. This prevents her from using her main attacks. From there, he has her use String Shot at the ceiling. Grabbing onto the webbing like a grappling hook, she is then able to jump across the ice on the ground to get in front of Lapras. Lapras manages to use Thunderbolt to destroy most of the webbing, but by now, Leavanny has made it up close to hit another Leaf Blade. Lapras is in pain, but fights through it to hit another point-blank Ice Beam. This finally defeats Leavanny, but Ash is fine because Leavanny did a great job in weakening Lapras. Ash has Pikachu return to the field. The small electric mouse struggles to maintain his stance on the ice field, but Ash already has a plan. As Iris calls for Hydro Pump, Ash has Pikachu use Quick Attack to ward the webbing left behind by Leavanny. He manages to do so, evading the water attack, and after swinging onto the string shot, he launches himself into the air. He then uses an Electro Ball. Iris tries to have Lapras block it with Ice Beam, but Ash has Pikachu use Thunderbolt to power up the Electro Ball, and it manages to push through to land a devastating hit onto Lapras, knocking her out. Iris is now down to her final Pokemon. However, Ash's friends are still nervous. After all, Pikachu, Palpitoad, and Crocodile have all taken damage in the prior battles. Meanwhile, Haxorus came out of the previous battle almost completely unscathed. They can only hope that through their combined efforts, they'll be able to get the win. Ash recalls Pikachu for Palpitoad. Palpitoad isn't super mobile, so Ash figures he won't be affected too much by the ice in the field. Right off the bat, Iris calls for Dragon Dance. While Haxorus is powering up, Ash orders Supersonic, wanting to confuse the Pokemon immediately. Iris tells her Pokemon to dodge, and lucky for her, Dragon Dance has made Haxorus just fast enough that she can evade the Supersonic. She then rushes in with an X-Scissor. Ash is certain that Haxorus will struggle having to run on a small bit of ice to get to Palpitoad, but shockingly, she manages to rush straight forward with no issues. Unbeknownst to him, Iris had trained her Pokemon to handle ice terrain. Palpitoad takes a huge hit, but he withstands it, and uses all of his might to hit a Sludge Wave. Haxorus is drenched in poison, and Iris asks her if she's okay. Haxorus nods, but soon hunches over, growling in pain. Seems the Sludge Wave left her poisoned. Now Iris is a bit panicked, as this throws a wrench in her plans. She can't afford for the battle to go on for any longer than it needs to. As such, she commands a second Dragon Dance, and her Pokemon obeys. Now she's even faster and more powerful than ever. Ash realizes that he has a great opportunity to win this, if his Pokemon can just wear down Haxorus enough for a big hit. He commands Mud Shot, but by now, Haxorus can easily dodge this. But Palpitoad doesn't let up, and keeps launching the attack over and over. Iris is confused on what the point of this is, until she notices the pain expression on Haxorus' face. Of course, Ash is trying to do whatever he can to waste time, so Haxorus can take as much extra damage from the poison as possible. Iris will not stand for this, and orders a Giga Impact. Ash orders Palpitoad to counter with Hydro Pump. The frog executes the move, but Haxorus barrels straight through this move, and strikes Palpitoad for a massive hit. Palpitoad falls onto his back, and everyone assumes he's done. But surprisingly, the Pokemon manages to slowly pull himself back up. Ash is beyond impressed, while Iris is terrified, as she knows Haxorus is now powerless to defend from any incoming attack. Ash tells Palpitoad to use the strongest Mud Shot he can. Palpitoad leaps into the air and lets off a flurry of Mud Shot attacks at the stationary dragon, and she suffers the full brunt of the attack. But she remains standing, and Iris then orders another X-Scissor. This attack finally puts Palpitoad out of the battle. Ash thanks Palpitoad for the hard work, and sends Crocodile back into the battle. Iris asks Haxorus if she's okay, and the dragon nods. Iris knows that she doesn't have much time, and commands X-Scissor once again. Ash knows that he needs to get rid of the remaining ice in the battlefield, and he needs to slow Haxorus down, so he commands Bulldoze. The move sends a shockwave onto the field, destroying the remaining ice, hitting Haxorus for major damage. The large Pokemon gets back up, and shakes herself off. She flinches as she takes a bit more poison damage, but remains calm. Ash calls for Dragon Claw, and Iris orders Haxorus to dodge. Haxorus attempts to get away, but she seems oddly slow, and Crocodile manages to land the hit before she can even evade. Now Iris is worried. She was afraid of this. While the recent attacks from Ash's Pokemon may not have done much on their own, the combined Mud Shot attacks from Palpitoad and the Bulldoze from Crocodile have really ruined the speed advantage Haxorus had gained from the Dragon Dance. If anything, now she seems slower than in the beginning of the battle. Iris can't afford to not have the speed advantage, so she commands another Dragon Dance, begging the Pokemon to hang on for just a little longer. Haxorus uses the move, and as she does so, Ash finds the perfect time to strike. He calls for Foul Play. Crocodile rushes up to Haxorus and delivers a powerful punch, so strong that it has her toppling over. Sharon comments that Foul Play uses the opponent's attack power against it, so Haxorus must have taken a huge hit. But the dragon refuses to give up for her trainer's sake, and uses X-Scissor. Crocodile takes a major hit and nearly falls over. Both Pokemon are being pushed to their limits. Ash calls for one more Dragon Claw, and Iris decides that she needs to give this everything she has. In spite of the risk, she orders Outrage. Crocodile lunges in for his attack, but Haxorus blocks it with her tail just in time before executing a massive beatdown onto the crocodile. Crocodile is sent flying backward onto the center of the field, unable to battle. Haxorus roars in delight, breathing heavily as she's on her last leg, the poison catching up to her. Iris tells her Pokemon that she's beyond proud of her and asks her to hang on for just one last opponent. Haxorus nods back with a grin. Ash looks down at Pikachu and asks if he's ready. The small mouse nods and dashes onto the battlefield. Neither trainer wastes a second. Ash commands Thunderbolt, and Iris tells Haxorus to finish Pikachu off with Outrage. The huge dragon dashes forward, putting all of her energy into this attack. It's clear that Pikachu's Thunderbolt isn't going to hold her back, so at the last second, Ash has Pikachu dodge. He tells him to jump into the air with Quick Attack. Haxorus rushes over to where it seems Pikachu is set to land and readies her final strike. With her massively increased attack, she knows all she needs is one hit. But Ash tells Pikachu to repair an Electro Ball. Iris doesn't worry about this and just tells Haxorus to brace for impact. Ash commands Pikachu to use an additional Iron Tail at the same time as the Electro Ball. The audience is stunned by the combination attack. Pikachu dives forward, tail first, while Haxorus' glowing fist is pulled back to land her punch. The Pokemon collide, resulting in a massive explosion of energy. Smoke covers the battlefield, and only a few small electric sparks can be seen. Once everything is clear, everyone is stunned by the results. Pikachu and Haxorus are both unconscious. Ash and Iris are in shock, and the crowd is likewise silent, confused on what this even means. It's as if time stops. Even the announcer isn't sure, as nothing like this has ever happened in previous tournaments. Before anyone can say anything, a voice is heard. It's Alder. Ladies and gentlemen, this is completely unexpected, but it looks like we have a tie, meaning there will be 2 winners of this Pokémon World Tournament. Everyone is beyond confused. 2 winners? Alder explains that since both Pokemon were defeated, it's only fair that both trainers be crowned the winners of the Pokémon World Tournament. In his opinion, they deserve it for that amazing battle. He asks the crowd if they agree. Suddenly, a loud applause rains out across the stadium. Everyone is standing and clapping for Ash and Iris. This shakes the trainers out of their stupor, and they rush over to their Pokemon. Ash picks up Pikachu, asking if he's okay, and the small mouse nods. Iris thanks Haxorus for putting in so much work into that battle, and tells her that she's proud of her. Ash and Iris then shake hands in the center of the battlefield. Iris thanks Ash for the great battle, and she tells him that this was the best battle she's had in a long time, and she learned a lot from it. Ash likewise thanks her, and he says that he's so happy that he was able to have a great battle with all of his Pokemon. The awards ceremony takes place, and the announcer apologizes since they only had one trophy prepared. The trainers begin pondering what to do, but before they can think of anything, they're shocked when Drayden approaches them. Iris asks what he's doing, and he asks her if she'll allow Ash to keep the trophy. Iris begins to whine and ask why, and he stuns her by saying that he already has a better prize for her and hands her a legend badge. He tells her that she'll need this more than a trophy, as he wants her to take over as the Appaloosa gym leader immediately. Iris is stunned, since she didn't actually win the battle like he wanted. But Drayden tells her that he honestly never even wanted her to win the whole tournament. He just wanted her to prove her determination to achieving her goal. But the fact that she made it all the way to the finals and tied in her last battle showed him that clearly she has what it takes to run the gym from now on. Iris is nearly in tears, thanking her mentor and agreeing to become the next gym leader of Appaloosa City. The audience celebrates the new gym leader, and Ash is happy for Iris as well. She then tells Ash that he can keep the trophy. After all, she'd rather get one after she can get a proper win. But she's going to work on improving her skills, now as the newest Unova gym leader. Ash tells the girl that he wishes her well. Later that evening, Ash discusses his future plans with his friends. Sharon will be continuing his own work to become a gym leader, and hopes one day he'll hold that title. Bianca is going to continue her work as Professor Juniper's assistant, and hopes to use her past experiences to help give advice to new trainers, just like Ash did for her on their journey. Hilda and Hilbert state that after seeing Ash battle with all of his Pokemon in the tournament, they want to travel to other regions to train new Pokemon as well, and maybe even learn about the myths and legends of those places. Ash is happy to hear of everyone's plans, but he's saddened as he realizes that he doesn't know what he wants to do next. Later that night, he talks things over with Pikachu. This journey through Unova has taught him so much. He's become so much stronger in his ideals, and truthfully, he feels like a better trainer because of it. He's even managed to finally come out of a Pokemon tournament on a hugely positive note. he now knows that he has the strength and skills to make it to the finals of a league conference. He's also tied in a major competition, but he knows that he still wants to get a proper win. The next morning, the kids part ways. Ash already has a flight scheduled for the Kanto region. Trophy in hand, Ash wants to have one last look at the PWT building. He does so and gains a new sense of direction, wanting for sure to become a league winner. But where should he go in order to achieve this dream? As he's pondering it, he hears the calls of someone. As he turns around, a young woman rushes up to him. Oh no, please tell me it's not over. The Pokémon World Tournament? Yeah, it just wrapped up yesterday. The woman sighs, stating that her sister is going to kill her for this. Ash asks what the issue is. The girl apologizes and introduces herself as Alexa. She explains that her sister, Viola, wanted to compete in this tournament and sent her all the way from Kalos to register her. But she was way off on the dates, and then her travel plans got messed up, and now it looks like the whole thing is over. Ash apologizes and interrupts her, asking where she said she was from again. Alexa says that she's from Kalos, a beautiful region which is known for its strong gym leaders and celebrity champion. This immediately catches Ash's attention. A new region he's not heard of with strong gym leaders? This is exactly what he needs. He thanks Alexa for the information and dashes off to the airport, not wanting to miss his flight. Once back at home, Ash immediately heads to Professor Oak's lab and leaves his Unova Pokemon with the others. He thanks them all for their hard work in the Pokémon World Tournament and says that he would never have done as well as he did without their hard work. Later, he reunites with his mom and leaves his trophy and Unova badges in his room. He then tells his mom that he's going to be heading to the Kalos region to compete in their next league, and this time his goal is to win. In the Unova League, he finally made it farther in a league than he ever has before, the finals. In the Pokémon World Tournament, he made it to the finals and tied with his opponent. Now he knows what his goal is for Kalos, to make it to the finals of their league conference, and to win the entire thing. And this will conclude Ash's Unova Journey rewrite. I hope you all enjoyed it. Now let's go over a few notes before I finish this video. Once again, I want to reiterate that the reason I did this whole arc was to replace the Charizard return with a big return for all the Pokemon Ash had at Oak's lab. And instead of the filler Decalor saga, I made use of the PWT, which never showed up in the anime. I think this just makes more sense. Honestly, I'll never understand why anyone thought bringing back Charizard for Ash's Unova team made sense. I mean, bringing back Phanpy in the Battle Frontier at least made sense, since that Pokemon didn't do much in Johto, so it had the chance to do more later on. But Charizard had already gotten more than enough development in the past series that I didn't see what he added to Unova aside from nostalgia. Going to Unova added nothing to Charizard aside from a few new moves. Nothing for his personality, development, story, nothing. If they just had to bring back a Pokemon, why not bring back someone like Gible? I know it's ironic coming from me since I don't like Gible and literally removed him from Ash's team in my rewrite. But I could at least understand Gible returning since he barely did anything in Sinnoh and could use more meaningful development. He could have evolved, learned new moves, become a more proficient battler, anything. So I hope having this tournament and allowing Ash's lesser used Pokemon to shine was enjoyable for you all. I really wanted to give some attention to what I view as the more forgotten Pokemon. I also wanted to do something nice for Iris at the end since I basically removed her from this entire story. If you watched my very first video on rewriting Unova, you might notice that I actually changed this from what I originally planned, because I actually previously said that she was going to be competing as the newest gym leader of Obelisk City in the tournament, but I changed that because I thought that having the competition be her test to earn her place as the gym leader worked as a better storyline and gave her final battle more weight. Also, you guys are probably wondering why I mainly was in Giovanni's perspective during that battle. When I wrote that part, I was thinking about Giovanni from Pokémon Origins. Remember Pokémon Origins? It's like a decade old at this point. Anyway, in the third episode of Pokémon Origins, Red battles Giovanni at his gym, and unlike the rest of the series, is primarily from Giovanni's point of view. I always found that interesting, and I decided to do that here too, because I thought it was pretty interesting for the situation to get into Giovanni's head. So that's going to be all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As someone who really didn't like the canon Black and White series, I like that I now have a version of Unova that I can enjoy. To anyone else who didn't care for Black and White, let me know in the comments what you would have changed with Ash's journey. If you did enjoy Black and White, let me know if you liked my version, or if you still prefer the original. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Thank you!